Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about your April 2022 horoscope. Before we start talking astrology, let me mention a few important things from the very beginning. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, therefore all videos on my channel, all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. I use the whole sign house system in my practice, so if you use Placidus or equal houses, then by all means go ahead, but just so that you know, this is the house system that I prefer. And last but not least, if you want to work with me, if you want to book a personal reading, a 1-hour live Zoom consultation, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. I'm currently taking bookings for May, for the month of May. For the time being, I am no longer offering audio recorded readings. I'm only offering live Zoom readings and consultations. In the live Zoom consultation, which by the way is also recorded, so you can re-listen to it later. We can dive into your natal chart, so we can interpret your natal chart. We can look at the year ahead. If you've got questions around compatibility, around synastry, we can also look at those. Whatever is on your mind in terms of a specific life sector, maybe career, maybe finances, maybe family, we can certainly address those topics in the 1-hour live Zoom consultation. Something also to keep in mind for astrology students in particular, I am also offering one-to-one mentorship sessions. Once again, you can find these on my website, so you can book a mentorship session with me. On my website, you go to the services section on writteninthestars-astrology.com. And if you will purchase a mentorship session with me, do come prepared with questions around natal chart interpretation, forecasting, specific techniques, and so on. Let us dive into the astrology of April 2022. I'm gonna say this from the very beginning. April is not an easy month. Now, why do I say this? Because it's going to be a very eventful month. Not in the sense that bad things will happen, but in a sense that there will be probably quite a bit of disruption. And of course, we as human beings don't necessarily deal very well with the disruption. We prefer the status quo. It's our instinct of self-preservation, call it whatever you want. April is not going to be a calm month. Not at all. It starts off with a bang. It gets a lot better as the month progresses. Actually, one of my favorite times of April is the eclipse coming up at the end of the month. By the way, we are entering eclipse season, and as you may or may not know, eclipses mark major milestone moments in our life. They indicate big new beginnings and big endings. They are like super lunations. They are generally good indicators for memorable times in our life, both on a personal level as well as on a collective level. We've got some difficult, or let's call them demanding, not necessarily difficult, lunations at the beginning of the month. So the new moon in Aries, the full moon in Libra. We also have probably one of the most tense aspects of the year that we're going to be dealing with. Mars is going to conjunct Saturn in Aquarius this month. We're also going to have one of the probably sweetest aspects of the year. Like I said, April is a very eventful month. Jupiter is going to come together with Neptune. This happens roughly once every 13 years. Once every 13 years, these two planets come together. Both Jupiter and Neptune are connected with spirituality, with God, with religion, with faith, with beliefs. Jupiter is a social planet, therefore, generally, whatever Jupiter does in the sky is reflected very strongly at a collective level. And Neptune is a transpersonal planet, and transpersonal planets, as we know, also are very important. We actually see their effects more at a collective level than at a personal level, unless you've got a planet that is very close to Neptune in Pisces right now, and Jupiter in Pisces right now as well. So let me take you through the most important events of the month, astrologically speaking. Let me flag the key dates before we dive into the update for each zodiac sign. So on the 1st of April, we've got a new moon in Aries. I told you the month starts with a bang. This month is a very interesting mix between the hot-blooded Aries energy, the kind of like dreamy and whimsical Piscean energy. Of course, we've got some Libra in the mix, and at the end of the month, we've got like strong Taurus energy because we have a solar eclipse in Taurus. So the month starts with a bang. 1st of April, we have a new moon in Aries at 11 degrees, 30 minutes of Aries. It's conjunct Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Chiron is also the maverick. Chiron is also the outsider. Of course, new moons indicate new beginnings. New moons are the cosmic inhale. I can't say that I am thrilled about this new moon happening very close to Chiron, because it may put the spotlight on wounds at a collective level. And the thing with Chiron in Aries is the following. It may feel like no matter how hard we try, conventional methods or means or roads or paths to assert ourselves and to survive are blocked. So we have to find a different way. Now, I see this new moon a little bit like an animal that is fighting for survival, but it is cornered. So it's kind of like, it feels cornered, it feels threatened. So threatened animals and people, my apologies if my metaphors aren't exactly the best, they can react in very unexpected ways, and sometimes in much scarier ways than, of course, someone who feels kind of like safe and stable and secure and so on. The good part about this new moon is that we will probably find a way to fight for our survival. That is very creative, that is very unorthodox, that is very atypical and unusual. So that's kind of like the positive side to Chiron, the shadow side to Chiron. And of course there are positives and negatives, or like there's a darker and a lighter expression to any placement, any planet, and so on. The darker side of Chiron is no matter what you do, you can't save yourself. So very careful not to kind of like fall prey to this type of feeling. On the 5th of April, we've got Venus entering Pisces until the 2nd of May. Venus is exalted in Pisces. This is fantastic. Finally, Venus is out of the home of Saturn. It went through the sign of Capricorn for a very long time, from last year, December, throughout January and so on. Then it entered Aquarius, again, home of Saturn. Traditional astrologers spoke of the Venus besiegement. It was caught up a lot in March. My apologies. Please don't shoot the messenger. It was caught up between the two malefic planets, Mars and Saturn, and so on. So Venus essentially couldn't really deliver on its promise. It didn't really sweeten life that much for us because, hey, Saturn had the upper hand. But in Pisces, it is exalted, and it will also come together with Jupiter, with Neptune. It's going to be beautiful. It may feel like there's a split between different parts of our life in April. On the one hand, something is kind of like blossoming and blooming, and we are dreaming of a new vision in that area of our life. And on the other hand, wherever Aquarius is in your natal chart, there's still some difficulty to deal with. There's still some blockages. There's still some more work to be done. On the 10th of April, Mercury in Aries is squaring Pluto in Capricorn. So power struggles that involve some sort of like let's call it aggressive speech or discourse. On the 11th of April, Mercury enters Taurus. Then Mercury on the 29th of April enters Gemini, so it stays in Taurus until the 29th. We have on the 12th of April the exact conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune, but it is highly active between the 9th and the 17th of April. Now, I did talk about this conjunction quite in depth in the Jupiter and Pisces video that I did earlier this year, so you can check that out. But a few themes for let's see, Jupiter coming together with Neptune and Pisces. It could mean lots of flooding, so it could bring floods. Sea levels could be rising, something like that. We could experience torrential rains and so on. A more positive expression could be no boundaries between foreign cultures, between different countries. It can also indicate the dissolution of a religious system that is possible. I did flag this before and I'm going to flag it again. It can bring an important milestone when it comes to the legalization of some drugs, because Neptune rules drugs and escapism as well. When it comes to our beliefs, because Jupiter is very much linked with our beliefs and our belief system, Jupiter conjunct Neptune wants to believe the best. And the thing about believing the best is that we may on purpose ignore sometimes the reality of a situation. We may also start practicing more kind of like mindfulness. We may meditate more. There can be kind of like a rise and increase in spiritual practices around the world. But it can also bring big frauds, big scammers. Jupiter expands everything it touches, and Neptune is also illusion. There could be some losses in the areas of like travel and music, possibly. There could be media takeovers and mergers, because Neptune is also connected with the media. So these are some of the key kind of like themes that come up for Jupiter conjunct Neptune. We shall see how things actually play out. I realized that I didn't mention when exactly Mars will conjunct Saturn in April. This will happen on the 5th of April. Now, a few themes for this are the following: delayed action, suppressed stamina, fear of action, repressed anger, action met by resistance. It may feel like what we want encounters some sort of wall. We're also thinking at a mundane level. Mars is connected with military power, so there could be maybe a blockage that military undertakings encounter, which might not necessarily be a bad thing considering what is happening from a military standpoint right now in Ukraine. So there could be a possibility of this working in our favor, but on a personal level, it can be a very frustrating time. So it's very strong on the 5th of April. You might feel it as of the 1st, by the way. On the 15th of April, Mars moves into Pisces until the 24th of May. Then we have on the 16th of April a full moon in Libra at 26 degrees of Libra. It is squaring Pluto in Capricorn. It is harmoniously aspecting Saturn in Aquarius. And on this day, Venus is sextiling Mercury and Uranus in Taurus. So again, mixed feelings here. On the 18th of April, Mercury is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. On the 20th of April, the Sun moves into Taurus. On the 24th of April, Mercury in Taurus is squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Very frustrating conversations on this day. Again, it may feel like whatever we say doesn't land very well with others. On the 27th of April, very, very romantic day. Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Also careful because you might fall in love with an image rather than the reality of a situation. On the 28th of April, Mercury in Taurus is trining Pluto in Capricorn. I like this. It feels like mental efforts are leading somewhere. And on the 30th of April, we have one of my favorite days of the month, by the way. A new moon solar eclipse in Taurus at 10 degrees, 27 minutes of Taurus. It is sextiling Mars in Pisces, and Venus, the ruler of the eclipse, is conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. We may not see the full kind of like development of this eclipse until January of next year. So a seed is sown at this time. Big new beginnings. Now, let us talk about the update for each zodiac sign. And of course, we are going to start with the one and only Aries. My recommendation, by the way, is to listen to the update for your rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign, if you don't know your ascendant, then listen to the update for your sun sign. But if you do know your ascendant, if you have your time of birth, you can calculate it online. You can literally Google natal chart generator and put in your date, time, and place of birth, and it will show your natal chart and your ascendant. Again, if you have your time of birth, I recommend figuring out what your ascendant is. It's super simple, and then listening to the update for the ascendant. So without further ado, let us look into the April horoscope for Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings. Folks, you are obviously the stars of this month for most of this month, at least until the sun moves into Taurus on the 20th of April. You've got the light of the sun on your side. The sun feels really good in Aries, so that's working in your favor. On the other hand, there are some kind of like disruptive energies unfolding this month that I do want to draw your attention towards. It may feel like you need to step in a new direction, but you don't have all the necessary elements to initiate whatever personal project you want to initiate. It may feel like something is missing, or something is happening in the background, or something is kind of like unfolding without you necessarily seeing it. And I can only tell you, Aries, sometimes you have to have faith in order to move forward, and you have a lot of courage, but this month I believe you need to have some faith as well. And if you do have it, then that's absolutely fantastic, because faith and imagination and intuition will help you along the way. Let's look at the month and let's dissect it a little bit. So 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in your first house, conjunct Mercury and Chiron. Now, this new moon is obviously ruled by Mars, and Mars is applying to a conjunction with Saturn in your 11th house, exact on the 5th of April. So it feels like you're starting something off, a personal project, a long-term project. It feels like you need to set a new goal for yourself at this point in time. But at the same time, you're fearful. You probably feel like it's very hard what you're trying to do. You may also feel like the conventional paths towards achieving what you have set out to achieve aren't necessarily open or aren't necessarily accessible. It may be that you need to think very creatively at this point in time. You may realize that you need to start something and you're somehow ill-prepared. Maybe you're thinking, oh no, this requires more courage than I actually have, or this requires more a boldness than I can find right now. Or maybe this requires me to kind of like know something or learn something that I don't know that much of. Maybe you feel ill-equipped to kind of like tackle the intellectual aspect of this new endeavor. Maybe you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to lead a group of people that are reluctant to listening to you. Aries, your best friend right now is your imagination and your faith. I will just say it out there. Also, you do need to step into a position of leadership. You do need to find the courage to move forward, even if you don't have all the cards on the table yet. This could also be a time when you hear news, or when you realize that you need to take some sort of action, bold action, when it comes to your physical body, when it comes to your health. You might realize that the physical body is kind of like holding you back on a certain front. You don't like this. You don't like to be held back. You don't like to feel hemmed in or reined in. But at the same time, it is what it is. I dare say that discipline and having faith that the path will unfold itself over time, this will work in your favor. If you do hear news of something kind of like being not necessarily great in the physical body, it could be something connected with the head. It could be the jaw. It could be something connected also with migraines or something of that type. My recommendation would be to also look a little bit outside of the conventional routes when it comes to maybe treating what you feel isn't necessarily working in your favor. But of course, listen to your physician, listen to your doctor, and so on. On the 5th of April, Venus moves into Pisces in your 12th house until the 2nd of May, and Mars is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in the 11th. Now, Venus for you, Aries, rules your 2nd house and your 7th house of partnerships. It may feel like if you surrender in a good way to where a relationship is headed, if you kind of like just allow things to unfold, if you let go and let God, as they say, things are actually moving in a much more constructive direction than if you were to kind of like push for something to happen, or if you were to take charge and say, let's figure this out. No, it feels like allowing things to unfold in a relationship will probably work very, very much in your favor until the 2nd of May. Also, you may have some very powerful inspiration coming to you through your dreams as to what you need to do when it comes to something of a financial nature, or when it comes to something of a romantic nature, my dear Aries. You can also experience a lot of fulfillment and pleasure in a spiritual environment, or in an environment where you are on your own, my dear Aries, until the 2nd of May. Now, on the 5th of May also, very important day. Also look at the day before, the day after. Mars is exactly conjunct Saturn in the 11th house. Mars is your ruler. Mars is also the ruler of your 8th house. It may feel like your initiatives are hitting a bit of a bump in the road. You are bumping into some sort of organization or structure or group of people or community that are saying, no. If you want to do this thing, if you want to undertake this project, if you want to pursue this goal, you need to play by our rules. Now, in general, Aquarius is a sign that is in harmony with Aries. It's a sign that sextiles Aries. So initially you might be frustrated because you could be asking yourself, why do I have to abide by your rules? I want to do things my way, and I want to move faster, and I want to get things done. But in the long term, it may actually help you to kind of like be more strategic. It may help you to be more in control. It may also help you to strengthen your qualities as a leader, my dear Aries. So yes, it is a frustrating aspect, but in the long term, there can most certainly be benefits to this aspect. On the 10th of April, Mercury in your 1st house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 10th house. Power struggles with the boss on this day, very likely. Careful what you say because it can be used against you. Also, very careful what you say because it may alienate someone in a position of power. You could also figure something out on this day, connected with a boss or with a leader, or connected with your professional path, something that inflames you, something that makes you feel like angry. It's like, why didn't anyone tell me this? So just for you to kind of like know that this isn't necessarily the easiest of days. On the 11th of April, Mercury moves into Taurus in your 2nd house. So your mind is going to be very much on your money, on finances, or on organizing your budget, and so on until the 29th of April. On the 12th of April, Jupiter will conjunct Neptune exactly in Pisces in your 12th house, but this is very, very active between the 9th of April until the 17th. So I would remember the period between the 9th until the 17th of April. Jupiter for you, my dear Aries, is, let's see, the ruler of your 9th house and of your 12th house. I mean, you can probably have some spiritual epiphany around this time. You may feel like you have some sort of like enlightenment, illumination. There could be an increase in inspiration in your life. There could also be kind of like a life-changing, a life-altering, a mentality-altering experience of a 12th house nature. So maybe when you feel kind of like lost or stranded, or in the fog, or when you feel like you don't know exactly how to move forward, insight comes to you through divine means. It is a great day for meditation, the 12th of April in general, and in general from the 9th until the 17th. I would actually recommend that you prioritize activities of a spiritual nature, activities of an artistic nature. You can be incredibly inspired, and it may feel like you're connecting with the collective subconscious that is saying, this is important. This is what you should be using. You're kind of like tapping into energies beyond the material, beyond the physical. It may feel like God or like divinity is kind of like saving you from a very tricky situation, and is also offering you great meaning when it comes to maybe a source of suffering in your life, Aries, around this time, so throughout this period. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Libra. This is happening at 26 degrees of Libra. So if you have planets around 26 degrees of cardinal signs, so Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer, you're probably going to feel it the most. This is likely to play back to themes that maybe came up in your life, Aries, around the 6th of October last year at the new moon in Libra. This is squaring Pluto. So, I dare say that this could be a time when you decide to let go of a strategic partnership in your life. You could say goodbye to a business partner. You might also decide to stand up to a boss that maybe you feel has been going behind your back. You may confront someone. It can go either way. You may actually get out unscathed out of this confrontation, but you might also decide, listen, this is not helping me grow in the long term, so I need to release this toxic pattern when it comes to this particular business partnership or even romantic partnership in my life. This can also be a time when, if you are already in a romantic partnership, your partner is going through some very tough times career-wise. So Aries, if your partner is going through a tough time career-wise, they may actually need your support to know that you're there for them. They may need your support to comfort them. They could experience being laid off. That's a possibility, or having to leave their job because they can no longer take it. I'd say it is a moment of truth relationship-wise that you're experiencing, and sometimes it's okay to let go. It's okay to allow the chips to fall wherever they may. 20th of April, the sun moves into Taurus in your second house for the next 4 weeks. My lovely Aries. You could say that your heart is kind of like set on creating more stability and security, and on monetizing your resources more. Finances are, again, at the top of your mind with the sun and Mercury there. On the 24th of April, Mercury in Taurus in your second house is squaring Saturn in Aquarius in the 11th house. This can be a time when you feel maybe like your talents or your inner resources aren't necessarily super appreciated by a group of people, or you may doubt what you have to bring to the table in a group type of setup, in a group type of environment. It is, however, a very good day to kind of like prioritize work of an intellectual nature that requires focus and discipline. And even if you feel on the day that you're not making a lot of progress, it doesn't matter. Like, progress takes time. So things might not necessarily be moving as fast as you want them to move, but that doesn't mean that you're not growing, that you're not evolving, even if the rate isn't the rate that you expected. On the 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house, one of the most romantic days of the month, saying that the 12th house is connected also with letting go, with surrendering. So you may experience a couple of things. You may allow yourself to fall in love and to kind of like be held by a partner. You may also allow yourself to forgive a partner, or to forgive yourself maybe for something that you felt you did wrong in the area of romance and relationship relationships. You may have some sort of like romantic dreams, or maybe dream of someone from your past romantically. Very careful not to fall in love, not to fall for, especially since Venus is the ruler of your 7th house, not to fall for the image of someone, the idealized image of someone, and to lie to yourself about who they actually are, because that is a possibility, Aries. This is a great day, for instance, also to go to the spa. I'll just go out there and say it, to kind of like allow yourself to be held by an activity of a Venusian and Neptunian nature, and to allow yourself to maybe daydream. On the 28th of April, Mercury in Taurus is trining Pluto in Capricorn in your 10th house. It feels like you have kind of like made a very important point on this day at work. Like your words and your discourse is very persuasive. On the 29th of April, Mercury moves into Gemini in your 3rd house, and Pluto goes retrograde until the 8th of October in your 10th house. So, of course, Pluto is a generational planet. It does move generally very slow, but it feels like you need to kind of like internalize maybe some of the changes that have occurred up until this point in your career. And maybe also you need to revisit some issues that have to do with power dynamics in a professional environment, my dear Aries. And on the 30th of April, week before, week after, one of my favorite times of the month, you've got a new moon solar eclipse, a massive, massive, massive new beginning in Taurus, in your 2nd house. It is sextiling Mars and Pisces in the 12th house, and Venus is conjunct Jupiter and Pisces in the 12th house. Okay, my lovely Aries, it feels like you've struck gold around this time. Now, maybe you will not necessarily see the gold or the materialization of the symbolic gold until January of next year. Why in January of next year? Because at the time of the solar eclipse, you are planting a seed that will probably blossom and flourish financially, because the 2nd house is the house of finances, next year in January, fully. Why? Because in January of next year, in the first 3 weeks, the nodal axis, north node, south node, the axis of destiny, is going to reach the exact degree within kind of like a 1 degree of orb of the eclipse that is coming up on the 30th of April. So what can this eclipse bring? Well, you may have a sudden realization about one of your inner resources that you did not tap into. You may discover that you've got a new resource inside of you and start to kind of like polish it and hone it. It can bring, this eclipse, a new source of income into your life. It can also reset your value system. You may realize that what used to be important for you is no longer important. And you may also realize that one of your greatest resources at this point in time is your ability to create stability in the face of the unknown, and to courageously approach the unknown and restore harmony and stability. You may receive an unexpected opportunity to collaborate with someone. This opportunity may increase your income in the long run, and it may also expose you to one of your untapped talents and resources, my dear Aries. I love it, I love it, I love it for you. Now, if you are a Taurus sun or a Taurus rising, what can you expect from the month of April, my lovely Taurians? Well. There's going to be a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot on your plate. And I can also tell you that there are some things happening, probably in a more kind of like behind the scenes setup, that you need to deal with grace. There is a bit of letting go that you need to do this month, Taurus, in order to move forward with your life, in order to be reborn, which is pretty much the theme of the eclipse that is coming up at the end of the month on the 30th of April, week before, week after. It's a solar eclipse, so it's a massive new beginning, but until you get to that new beginning, let me just say, it's time to get unstuck. And it is time to face with courage what you haven't yet released in your life, even though you know that it is a good idea to do so. So let's look at the astrology. 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. New moon in Aries in your 12th house. So a new beginning, conjunct Mercury and Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Mars, the ruler of this new moon, is going to be in your 10th house, and it will form an exact conjunction with Saturn on the 5th of April. But you may already feel the conjunction as the new moon unfolds in your life. How can I say this? This is indeed a new beginning for you, Taurus, but this new beginning first probably involves you letting go of something that represented an important part of your status in the world. It may have been something that you identified with in the eyes of the public, so it could be something connected with your job, it could be something connected with the industry that you operate in, it could also be something connected with your status. Now, what do I mean by status? I mean being married or single, divorced, remarried, etc. These are all things that have to do with your status. Now, the sun is the ruler of your 4th house of home. The moon is the ruler of your 3rd house. Mercury is the ruler of your 5th house of love and enjoyment. Let's just put it this way, Taurus. It feels like you are given a nudge at this new moon to let go of something that you really loved, also of something that was part of your status, that kind of like defined your status, but you know it's the only way. It pains you, I'm not gonna lie, it certainly does. It might make you feel like the outsider in a way. It might make you feel like, oh no, what is the world gonna say about this? Is this going to turn me into some sort of like stigmatized character of some sort? Can I just say that maybe a lot of this is also in your head? Maybe you are putting too much pressure on yourself as to what the outside world is going to think of you when you let go of this part of your life. Be it a relationship, be it an old marriage, be it an old job. It's like, if it has to go, it has to go. And sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid. That's my recommendation at the time of this new moon. The 12th house is also the house of what happens behind the scenes. Sometimes in the 12th house, we meet what we program our subconscious to do for us. So if someone else rips the Band-Aid for you, I wouldn't get mad at them, although that might be your initial reaction. I would just say, okay, maybe this is making room for me to move forward with my life. So it could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be something that you really loved. It seems like it's time for it to go. Now, on the 5th of April, Venus moves into Pisces until the 2nd of May. Venus is your ruler. It is also the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work. So it feels like until the 2nd of May, you are looking to make plans for the future, and you're dreaming about the future, and you're also actively working together with others to reshape what your future will look like. I can also tell you that relationships with friends and with colleagues and with your peer group will probably go very smoothly as Venus moves through Pisces in your 11th house. You also don't have to face the future alone, which is something very important to remember. So give yourself permission to be with friends, give yourself permission to be active in a social environment, because it's going to do you a world of good. Mars will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius also in your 10th house of career on the 5th of April. As I said, this is the exact day of the conjunction. It may feel like what you had planned to do with your career is encountering some sort of bump in the road, maybe some sort of initiative, maybe something that you're very excited to get on with. It isn't moving as fast as you would like it to move, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to hit a wall in order to maybe better define our goals and our objectives. On the 10th of April, Mercury in Aries is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 9th house. This can be a day of disruption, travel-wise, especially if you're traveling long distance. This could also be a time when you face some uncomfortable truth that you did not want to face. It's like, I see a reality clearly now. I don't like what I see. I'm beating myself up for it. You could beat yourself up for it. You could be quite, let's say, critical towards yourself at this point in time, but sometimes you have to realize that you did the best that you could with the information that you had at the time. Now, this could also be a time when there is, as I said, disruption when traveling, but also disruption that involves something connected with contracts or something of a legal matter, a legal nature. Do read contracts very carefully and don't rush through things. That's my recommendation on this day. Now, from the 9th of April until the 17th, we have with kind of like increased intensity on the 12th of April, we have an aspect in the sky. We have Jupiter and Neptune coming together in your 11th house. This is something that only happens once roughly every 13 years. So it's big. You may dream big at this time. You may kind of like make some exciting plans for the future. You may also feel in a way like you have maybe sacrificed one of your dreams at this point in time. And if you feel like that, and if you feel like crying, if you feel like allowing the floodgates of emotion to open, I would certainly do that. This is also, by the way, I would call it an idyllic time, almost like a bubble, like an out of this world experience, to travel with friends and to kind of like get together with friends, because they could show you maybe like a path to move forward that you haven't yet thought about, and especially a path to get out of crisis. You may also feel inclined to join in order to deal with what's going on in your life. You may also feel inclined to join maybe a spiritual community, and my recommendation would be, if you feel like doing that, to do so. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Libra. It is triggering your axis of service, 6th house, 12th house axis. I recommend looking back at what was going on in your life around the new moon in Libra happening last year, around the 6th of October, a few days before, a few days after, because this full moon is kind of like completing the circle or the cycle. So you may experience similar themes at the time of this full moon with what you experienced last year. I gotta say, this seems to be a time when you're either leaving a job or completing a work-related project, but not necessarily completing it in the format that you thought you would be completing it. It's also a time to minimize your losses, job-wise, work-wise, and also health-wise. If you realize that something that maybe you are very attached to is kind of like damaging your health. It could be mental health around this time. As much as it pains you, as much as it makes you feel like you're losing control, you're losing like the tight grip that you have on life. If you let go of it, I'd say let go of it. It is a time to wrap things up work-wise. It is a time to wrap up maybe a cycle of unhealthy or toxic patterns that you engaged in on a day-to-day basis. It's also a time to maybe wrap up a toxic relationship with a coworker or a client. This could be a time when you experience acute stress health-wise, physically. But if you are experiencing this, my biggest recommendation, Taurus, is look at the blockages in the psyche that are holding you back from facing maybe like a truth, and your body is kind of like pushing you. It's giving you a very strong nudge to face this truth, maybe something that you are trying to hide from yourself. So sometimes when the body reacts negatively through physical stress, ailments, and so on, it is due to something that we are blocking and repressing inside ourselves that we don't want to look at, because it's kind of like threatening the stories that the ego is telling us about who we are. So the psychological aspect of this maybe health-related kind of like issue is probably the strongest thing that is worth considering. I do like on this day the fact that Venus in Pisces in your 11th house is sextiling Mercury and Uranus in Taurus in your first house. So friends might have some very important insights to share with you at this point in time. And they could also illuminate your path moving forward. They could give you some great ideas, and they might also kind of like give you courage and inspire you to move forward. On the 20th of April, for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Taurus in your first house. And the first 3 weeks of the month, you might have been quite low in energy. You might have felt drained. The energy levels are kind of like rising and going up, which is fantastic. 24th of April, Mercury in Taurus is squaring Saturn in Aquarius in the 10th house. This could be a day when you feel misunderstood by someone in a position of power or by a parent. You may feel like a parent is kind of like judging you very harshly, very strongly. You may also feel very much in the spotlight and judged for how you think and how you speak. Let me remind you that you are your most important judge. And sometimes you have to speak up. You have to say the uncomfortable truths, regardless of what the world says, regardless of what bosses say, regardless of what parents say. So something to be kind of like aware of. On the 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 11th house. This is a great day to have fun with friends, to maybe go to some sort of like retreat, to even go for a night out. Careful, because you could overdo the booze or the kind of like, let's call them transcendental aspects of life. There is also a possibility that you may feel enamored, you may feel smitten with a friend, or you may feel like a friend could become more than a friend. They could turn into a romantic partner. The only thing is, I dare say, illusion is kind of like running rampant on this day when it comes to romance. So you could be seeing in someone what you want to see in them, not necessarily what they actually are. On the 29th of April, Mercury moves into Gemini in your second house, and Pluto goes retrograde until the 8th of October in your 9th house. So it feels like until the 8th of October, you need to kind of like revisit the shifts that have been going on in your life, especially at a mentality level. So your mentality is changing, but it's like, okay, what does this really mean? So that's kind of like what you're dealing with until October. 30th of April, week before, week after, one of the most important dates of the year for you and of the month, if we're referring to April only. This is the day of the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. It's happening at 10 degrees, 27 minutes of Taurus. So if you have planets around 10 degrees of fixed signs, so Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, you're going to feel this eclipse the most. Also, if you have angles, the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, if you have angles close to these degrees, close to 10 degrees, you're going to feel this eclipse the most. It is sextiling Mars in Pisces in your 11th house, and Venus is conjunct Jupiter in Pisces in the 11th house. Okay, so it feels like you've got a clear path moving forward as to who you want to be, who you want to build yourself into. It feels like you're going through a massive rebranding, my dear Taurus. It feels like you are kind of like coming out of the birth canal, and the world is your oyster. The world is open. It's like, okay, who do I want to turn into, and who do I want to be moving forward? Because you're starting off with a clean slate, with a blank slate. You've got a great support system around you, very importantly, and it also feels like you've got the allies, the friends that can help you turn into this new you. I'm super excited for this to come into your life, my dear Taurus. Let us look at Gemini, Gemini suns and Gemini risings. My lovely Geminis, what can you expect from the month of April? Well. Let me share. There's a lot of focus on the future in the first, I dare say, 20 days of April, my dear Geminis. A lot of focus on the future, a lot of focus on your career as well, on moving forward career-wise. There's some big changes kind of like unfolding over there. It feels like you need to redefine where you're headed in terms of goals and objectives, Geminis. So let's kick it all off with the new moon in April, on the 1st of April. There's actually two new moons, one on the 1st of April, one on the 30th. The one on the 30th is a solar eclipse. So you've got two massive new beginnings in April for you, my dear Geminis. 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. The new moon in Aries in your 11th house is going to conjunct Mercury, your ruler, and Chiron. Now, Aries is a sign that is naturally getting along well with Gemini. They're sextiling each other. Aquarius is also getting along really well with Gemini, and Mars, which is the ruler of this new moon, is in Aquarius, in your 9th house. Mars is applying to a conjunction with Saturn, which is going to be exact on the 5th of April. So this seems to be a big day for you, the 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, when you are setting new goals and new intentions. You are also maybe doing something very bold and very courageous that involves working with like-minded individuals. You could, for instance, reach out to form maybe like a new community, a new alliance. You could also assert yourself in front of a crowd, in front of a group of people. You may decide to kind of like stand up for yourself in front of a group of people. And it feels like you're really fighting for what you believe in, either together with a group of people or you're defending what you believe in front of a group of people. This can also be a time when you stand up for those who are suffering and for those who you kind of like really resonate with. This new moon could bring some worrying news, maybe connected with one of your friends or connected with a community that you are a part of. It might feel, how should we say? It might feel tempting to throw yourself into action, but you may want to take a bit of a step back at this new moon, regardless of whether it's action for your goals or regardless of whether it's action for or on behalf of your community. You might want to take a bit of a step back and ask yourself, what does the law say in this instance? And could the law kind of like get in the way of me achieving my goals? Because it may get in the way. You may need to kind of like go down on an alternative path by taking into consideration legal restrictions or legal kind of like limitations. On the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, Venus moves through Pisces in your 10th house of career. This is a great time for you, Geminis, because if you need to persuade anyone professionally, if you need to persuade a boss, if you need to persuade a leader, you are incredibly persuasive, even more than you normally are, because let's face it, you are one of the most persuasive signs out there. It's a fantastic period to have interviews. It is also a fantastic period to reach out to potential business partners who can help you take your career to the next level. On the 5th of April also, Mars will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 9th house. Whatever initiatives you are kind of like in the midst of or undertaking, legally, educationally, or travel-wise, you are probably going to encounter frustration and delays and limitations around the 5th of April. Also, maybe a day before, a day after. I wouldn't necessarily see this as bad luck. I would see it as something that's giving you the opportunity to turn these initiatives into a long-term success. Even if in the short term, you're like, okay, I thought I would kind of like move faster with this than I'm actually moving right now. 10th of April is a bit of a difficult day because Mercury in Aries is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 8th house. You may hear some sort of like upsetting words. You may have an argument with a friend. They could say something that is really triggering you, that's getting you in this challenging state of mind, that's making you feel a little bit skeptical. I don't want to say paranoid, but it could make you feel a little bit paranoid. In any case, it feels like a power struggle with a friend, and the words that you say or that the friend says may be very hurtful. So careful what you speak on this day. On the 12th of April, but this is actually an aspect that is highly active from the 9th of April until the 17th, Jupiter will conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 10th house. Now, my dear Geminis, this is a time for you to dream big career-wise. It is a time to focus on your vision. It is a time to kind of like close your eyes and ask yourself, what is my ideal vision professionally? What do I want to materialize? What do I want to manifest? Speaking of manifestation, between the 9th until the 17th of April, it is a fantastic idea to maybe meditate and visualize and kind of like get yourself into the vibrational and emotional state of what you want to bring in the 3D reality, especially from a professional standpoint. This can also be a time when you maybe, how should we put it? Maybe when you feel like you've got this sort of like vision or dream of what you want to accomplish career-wise, but you don't know exactly how it is going to take shape, how it is going to take place, and your logical and rational mind might be freaking out. But on the other hand, the message of this aspect is to have faith. To dream big, to have faith. Also be very, very careful when it comes to bosses that promise too much and don't deliver. Or careful with people in positions of authority that promise too much and don't deliver. If you are signing contracts, if you are giving kind of like interviews, career-wise, professionally, my recommendation around this time is indeed to be kind of like positive and optimistic, but to also ask to see kind of like the bullet point list of what you're signing up for, and to read it very carefully, because things might come across as better than they actually are. Let's see, Mars moves into Pisces in your 10th house until the 24th of May from the 15th of April. So you're going to be super busy, and you're going to be putting a lot of energy and initiative into your career and into advancing career-wise, and into maybe kind of like fighting for what you believe in career-wise throughout this period. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you've got a full moon in Libra, triggering your 5th house, 11th house axis, squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 8th house. This full moon plays back to whatever came to your attention around the 6th of October last year, a few days before, a few days after. It feels like a time when you are probably acknowledging that you need to transform one of your long-term goals if you want to get out of a period of crisis. This could also be a time when you release one of your long-term goals, and you say, okay, if I want to move forward, I need to redirect my energies. I need to redirect my my attention. This could also be a time when you leave behind an old group of people. When you leave behind maybe a friend or an old community, you're saying goodbye to them. That's certainly very, very, very possible. You may feel very exposed around this time also to a wider group of people, and you could be feeling very stressed mentally. But if you are exposed, if you are presenting something to a wider group of people, it feels like you're very appreciated. So trust your guardian angels. Trust, even if things kind of like don't exactly turn out how you envisage them, trust that they're working in your favor, because Venus, which is the ruler of this full moon, is really nicely aspected to Mercury and Taurus and Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house of what's happening behind the scenes. So divinity has got your back at this time. The sun moves into Taurus in your 12th house on the 20th of April for the next 4 weeks. So it's kind of like illuminating what you need to let go of, what you need to surrender, also illuminating your subconscious. 24th of April, Mercury in Taurus is squaring Saturn in Aquarius in your 9th house. Okay, so it feels like you need to maybe, just maybe, release an outdated way of thinking so that you can accomplish something that you want to accomplish for the long run, something of an educational nature, or something that has to do with loans, mortgages, investments, or something that has to do with visas, residency, and so on. Not necessarily the best of days in terms of traveling. There can be delays, frustrations, postponements, and so on. 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 10th house. It feels like someone is kind of like making a concession to you or for you career-wise, and you feel in a way blessed. It's like, oh, I feel so lucky. I feel so privileged to kind of like experience this person's kindness and empathy and compassion. 30th of April, week before, week after. This is a new moon solar eclipse, my dear Geminis, happening in your 12th house. Very nicely aspected to Mars in Pisces in your 10th house of career, and Venus will conjunct Jupiter in Pisces in the 10th house. Okay, so I like this. It's a new beginning for you on a spiritual level, because eclipses are like super moons, super lunations. It's a new beginning for you on a spiritual level, and a new beginning that determines you to probably have more faith in what you can't see, and more faith in maybe your intuition, your insights, divine guidance. This could also be a time when you start working on something behind the scenes to create more stability in your life, something that has the potential to transform into a long-term professional thing. So I'm liking it. This could also be a time when you feel kind of enlightened in terms of what some of your blind spots have been so far. Overall, it's an eclipse that brings epiphanies in your private life, but that also determines you to literally trust in a way that there is a higher plan. There is a greater force at play in your life, Geminis. My fellow Cancerians, Cancer suns and Cancer risings, what does April look like for us? Well. It is a mixed bag, I shall tell you that. There's some exciting new beginnings. There's also some, not necessarily that great times. There can be some frustrations. There can be some delays in certain areas of our life, especially when it comes to money or assets that we have in common with someone else, when it comes to other people's money, other people's resources, loans, mortgages, and things like that. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's unpack the astrology of April. 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, the new moon in Aries in your 10th house of career is going to conjunct Mercury and Chiron. Okay, so a lot of Cancerians are kicking off something in their professional life at this point in time. It does seem to be something that requires you to take an alternative path, to think in a more kind of like outside the box way. It feels like you're starting fresh career-wise. It could be a symbolic new beginning, or it could be an actual new beginning when you start a new job, when you get promoted, and so on. But you seem to feel like a bit of an alien in this situation. Whatever everyone else is doing, or whatever everyone else would do in this situation, doesn't necessarily seem to work for you. So you need to kind of like use your imagination at this point in time to approach this particular career set of circumstances that you are in. You may also hear some news, if you work for others at this point in time, you may hear some news that really doesn't sit that well with you. News coming from a boss. Now, it could be that a boss is leaving. It could be that a leadership figure that you trusted is, well, disappointing you at this time. That's certainly very possible. This can also be a time when you need to stand up to someone, and you need to stand up very publicly. And maybe it's something that is causing you a lot of anxiety. It might make you feel like you are attacking the status quo. It might make you feel like you are the outsider in the situation. But if you feel like standing up for yourself and for what you believe in at this point in time, Cancerians, or if you feel like standing up for the underdog, I dare say that your, peace of mind, knowing that you did the right thing, is more important than what other people will say. That's kind of like how I see this. Some of you might also have some important news to announce to the outside world, maybe about some sort of crisis that was unfolding privately in your life. A lot of Cancerians, I do believe, that will probably step into a new role career-wise, or into a new chapter career-wise, that they're not necessarily super comfortable with. It seems to be something that requires a lot of courage. Now, on the 5th of April, we've got two things happening. Venus moves into Pisces in your 9th house until the 2nd of May, and Mars is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 8th house. Now, until the 2nd of May, Venus moving through Pisces in your 9th house makes this a great time for long-distance travel. If you are traveling long distance, if you are planning trips, it is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous time. You're probably going to enjoy the absolute out of it. Venus is the ruler also of your 11th house. So if you travel with friends, or if you make plans to travel together with friends or with your peer group, they're probably going to turn out beautifully. This is also a fantastic time to launch marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns, anything that promotes the services that you offer. It's a great time to reach out to like-minded individuals. Now, on the 5th of April in particular, Mars conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 8th house makes me think that something is saying no to one of your initiatives or one of your efforts together with a partner, or together with someone who you've got some sort of like assets in common with. It can be frustrating. You're probably going to feel like, oh no, why do I have to slow down? Why is this happening to me? That's Max's food. Max is my cat. If you do feel like something is kind of like denying or delaying what you're initiating together with a partner, something of a financial nature, something that has to do with investments and so on, I would see it as a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it allows you to be a lot more strategic and to think more long-term about what you're getting yourself into. It's also a bit of a difficult day, the 5th of April, in terms of your psychology, in terms of like maybe facing something that was causing a little bit of like mental turmoil. Now, if we move further in time, let's see. 10th of April, Mercury in Aries in your 10th house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 7th house. I do see this as maybe like an inflammatory speech or a verbal interaction that you've got with a boss or with a partner or with both. It could be a good idea to use words carefully, because you might throw words at someone, they might throw words at you, and the result is less than favorable. From the 9th until the 17th of April, you've got Jupiter conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 9th house. Okay, so this is a great time to define your vision in terms of education. It is also a great time to maybe kind of like throw yourself into the study of a spiritual topic, or into the study of something that really fuels your imagination. It is also a time when opportunities out of nowhere might come your way that open up doors for you to travel, that open up doors for you to maybe study something new. It can be a time when you attract a guru or like a spiritual teacher in your life. Very careful not to see people for more than they actually are throughout this period. Very careful not to believe the best. This can also be a time when you feel very inclined to kind of like share selflessly your knowledge and what you have accumulated intellectually, and to inspire others. It is a great time to maybe devise something that is inspiring to others. So it could be, I don't know, like a class, a course, a book. It is a time to really think in terms of broad strokes. What is your life philosophy, and how can your life philosophy also serve other people? Now, if you're traveling throughout this period, I would recommend being super careful when it comes to your documents, your paperwork, because there can be some confusion, some fog there. 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars also moves into Pisces in your 9th house of foreign lands, foreign countries, long distance travel. It feels like you're putting a lot of energy into these types of activities, traveling, making plans to travel, spreading your life philosophy, spreading your beliefs to the wider world. It feels like you're doing a lot of that until the 24th of May, my dear Cancerians. Now, on the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Libra in your 4th house. It is triggering the 4th house, 10th house axis. This full moon, Cancerians, is reflecting back to themes that came up in your life around the 6th of October of last year. So think about what you were doing at home or in private, or where you were at in terms of home and family life last year in October. Maybe you started doing something like renovating, looking for a new home, something like that. Maybe some of you started plans, I don't know, to expand the family and so on. There could be a culminating moment that is coming up around the 16th of April. Now, it's a mixed bag because this full moon is forming a T-square with Pluto and Capricorn in the 7th house of relationships and of the other, of kind of like those who oppose you. However, Venus in Pisces in your 9th house, which is the ruler of the full moon, is really nicely aspected to Mercury and Uranus and Taurus in the 11th. Okay, so this could be a time when you have to let go maybe of something that you planned for the home and for your family life, maybe because of circumstances outside of your control. Maybe it feels like the hand of destiny, of fate. So for instance, let's say you are looking for a new house and all of a sudden, I don't know, something happens collectively in the world, I don't know, the market crashes and you're like, okay, I suppose I'm not moving into a new house right now, or I need to kind of like pause the searches because this unexpected element occurred. If you are in a relationship with someone, it could be that it is something that happens in the life of your partner that determines you to maybe reevaluate something that you had built or something that you were planning to build in the home and family life. A partner, if you have a partner in particular, may also hear some very disturbing news connected with one of their parents. Now, when I say very disturbing, I mean life-altering. It could be very, very serious, very significant. Saying that, you do seem to see the meaning of all of this. You do seem to grasp the lesson of all of this. So there is a silver lining here. And also, it feels like people who are, let's say, like guardian angels rally around you and help you maybe overcome what feels like possibly a bit of a disappointment. It is possibly a disappointment. This could also be a time when there's a bit of a face-off with a parent. Now, you're called to be the greater person in this instance. And even though you may not necessarily agree with their way of seeing things, think long term and think about the relationship that you're trying to preserve with a parent rather than get like super annoyed with them, because you're probably going to get very annoyed with one of the parents. It may feel like they have hidden something from you. From the 20th of April, for the next 4 weeks, the sun travels through Taurus in your 11th house. Your focus is probably going to be on plans for the future and also connecting with the individuals that can help you achieve maybe the financial goals in your life. So maybe forming strategic connections and alliances. It's also very social time. I'll just go out there and say it. From the 20th of April for the next 4 weeks, super social time, getting together with a lot of people, maybe traveling, going out, and so on. 24th of April, Mercury and Taurus in your 11th house is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in your 8th house. It feels like this is a day when no matter how hard you try to convince someone of their narrow vision, they just won't take no for an answer, or they just won't agree with you. And sometimes it's okay to realize that even though you want the best for someone, they will acknowledge certain things, certain realities, certain truths when they are ready for it, not when you want them to acknowledge them. So it's a bit of a tough lesson. This could also be a day when kind of like plans with friends are canceled, just saying. 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in the 9th house. You're dreaming of love. You're kind of like understanding love at a deeper, more spiritual level. You're probably connecting with divine love in some shape or form around this time. If you're traveling at this point in time, I would also see this as an aspect to maybe have, I don't know, like an affair some way, in some way or another, away from home. It does feel like a bubble, so you're kind of like escaping with someone romantically in this bubble. But the thing with bubbles is that they burst, they pop. So enjoy it, enjoy the bliss, but also remember that it's transient. And let's see what else is happening for you in April, Cancerians. Let's see. Okay, so on the 29th of April, Mercury moves into Gemini in your 12th house. For you, Mercury rules your 12th house and your 3rd house. So you're probably going to be thinking a lot about maybe your blind spots for the next 3 weeks. And Pluto goes retrograde in your 7th house of relationships until the 8th of October. So there have been some changes in the area of relationships. Maybe a relationship fell apart. Maybe your partner kind of like experienced some radical changes around the middle of the month, around the 16th of April. Now it's time to kind of like integrate those changes within your psyche until October. And on the 30th of April, week before, week after, one of my favorite days of the month. I know it's an eclipse, and some people are going to say, Rux, that's crazy. How can you like eclipses? Eclipses bring wild cards and massive changes. Well, the Aquarius in me, or the Uranian in me, I gotta say, does like a little bit of disruption. Does like a little bit of excitement. Because what would life be without it, my dear Cancerians? So 30th of April, week before, week after, we've got a new moon solar eclipse in your 11th house of long-term goals, plans, dreams, and friends. Sextiling Mars and Pisces in your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries. And Venus will conjunct Jupiter in your 9th house at the time. I see this as a massive opportunity to maybe collaborate with a group of like-minded individuals on maybe something that involves traveling, higher education, legal matters, contracts, spreading the word, spreading maybe like an idea or a set of beliefs. It may be a collaboration that involves a lot of marketing, a lot of advertising. You may also join around this time or be welcomed into some sort of spiritual community or community of artists that completely change your views for the future, that completely kind of like alter the way you see yourself evolving for the long run. And they open up paths for you, or they open up your mind in ways that you haven't thought about up until this point. I'm super excited. Remember that eclipses push us in the direction of our destiny. Welcome these people into your life. Also, welcome their maybe different ways of looking at reality, because it does feel like you've got a lot to learn from them, my dear Cancerians. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. My dear Leos, April is actually not that bad for you. It really isn't. Why? Well, I did say that for a lot of people, it may feel like a challenging month because there's a lot of events, there's a lot of things kind of like culminating, a lot of disruption. Of course, not everyone likes that, but for you, it isn't necessarily that unpleasant. Why? Because all that energy unfolding in the sign of Aries is actually trining you. Aries is the sign that trines Leo. So it's something that you take in your stride. Like even the new beginnings, even the disruption. It's like, oh, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I can create with it. So for you, I like it. Dear Leos. Okay, so let's unpack the month. 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. You've got a new moon in your 9th house, conjunct Mercury and Chiron. And Mars in Aquarius is applying to a conjunction with Saturn in your 7th house. So it feels like around this time, around the 1st of April, Leos, you are called to maybe change a little bit the way you see reality. You are called to find meaning in a new way, in a novel way. That's how I see this new moon unfolding for you. You can hear news from abroad around this time. You may hear news also connected with finances. There could be an opportunity maybe to make money coming from abroad or from a foreign land, a foreign country. There could be some sort of like maybe partner coming into your life, business partner that says, okay, we can work together, you can make a lot of money with us, but you have to be open to maybe working in a different way. You have to be open maybe to collaborating with people that you don't necessarily like to collaborate with. So that could be something that is happening. You could also hear news around this time connected with your education. This can be a time when you feel inspired to maybe learn or embark upon a journey of learning that involves elements of a spiritual nature. It feels like you're in a new territory. You might be feeling a little bit like the outsider, but whatever you're learning seems to help you heal from your wounds in the long run. From kind of like wounds that maybe you're carrying with you from childhood, Leos. So I would certainly say yes to this new path of learning. 5th of April, Venus enters Pisces in your 8th house until the 2nd of May, and Mars is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. Now let's talk about Mars conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. Mars for you Leos rules your 4th house and your 9th house. It feels like your partner on this day is maybe blocking you, or is saying no, is putting up like a shield, is saying no in terms of one of your initiatives that has something to do with the home, with the living situation, or in terms of something that has to do with maybe collaborating with someone from abroad, or traveling, or spending more time abroad. If they are doing that for whatever reason, or if you feel blocked maybe by circumstances outside of your control when it comes to these initiatives, I would pace myself. I would take a step back and I would say, okay, maybe my strategy isn't something that's going to work for the long run. Maybe I need to bring more people on board. Maybe I need to bring a partner on board. Maybe I need to think of this more kind of like in a more detached and objective, rational manner, rather than get like super excited about it. Saying that, until the 2nd of May, from the 5th of April, Venus will move through your 8th house. If you need other people's money for any sort of endeavors especially connected with your career, because Venus rules your house of career, and also endeavors that have to do with your education, I would recommend applying for other people's kind of like investments, applying for a loan, applying for, like a mortgage, a scholarship, a sponsorship, asking for a bonus from work. You may also experience the sense of maybe investments paying off until the 2nd of May. That's certainly very possible, especially with Venus being exalted. Careful not to put your hard-earned cash behind, let's say, ventures, projects that seem too good to be true. If they seem too good to be true, then they probably are too good to be true. And there is a possibility to kind of like be swept off your feet, maybe by some projects that are asking you to invest in them. And the story is great, the vision is there, but they may not be exactly what they claim to be. So careful what you put your money behind, especially from the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, and in particular from the 9th until the 17th of April, when Jupiter is conjunct Neptune there. So not everything that glitters is gold, my dear Leos, and I'm sure you know that, but also between the 9th until the 17th, Jupiter, which rules your 5th house of gambling, might make you feel incredibly lucky, maybe luckier than you actually are. So careful not to throw money out the window, essentially. Speaking of Jupiter and Neptune coming together between the 9th until the 17th of April, it's exact on the 12th. You may learn a lot when it comes to your own blockages, when it comes to your own sources of crisis. You may be very healed throughout this period, using experience of a Jupiterian or Neptunian nature. So spiritual experiences, experiences that involve connecting with God or with a higher entity. You may experience a lot of healing from trauma throughout this period. I would recommend using maybe this period as a time to meditate, as a time to look inwards, as a time to prioritize having an emotional breakthrough, speaking about your past, speaking about your childhood, speaking about whatever it is that you consider taboo and whatever you held for yourself, Leos, because you can be literally emotionally cleansed and healed. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, so from the 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars moves through your 8th house as well. It does feel like you are putting a lot of energy into matters that have to do with maybe attracting funds from others, increasing your investments, and so on throughout this period. 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon, in Libra, triggering your 3rd house, 9th house axis and squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 6th house. Okay, so this full moon is reflecting back to themes that came up in your life around the 6th of October. So have a think about, what were you doing? Were you traveling around the 6th of October last year? Did you start to learn something new? Did you start collaborating with someone from abroad, career-wise? Did you start to maybe develop your skill set in a way that is more kind of like, culturally sensitive, or that takes into account maybe cultural variations. Did you apply for something of a legal nature around this time? Maybe a grant, a sponsorship, a scholarship, maybe a residency permit or citizenship. News may come your way around the 16th of April. Now, if you were expecting results from exams, now I can tell you that they're probably going to be a mixed bag. So I do expect some disruption here. I do also expect some maybe feeling of not necessarily having achieved what you set out to achieve fully. I also see you having to let go around this time of maybe a thought process or pattern that motivated you, or that was at the kind of like core of your day-to-day work. It is time to let go of that. This could also be a time when a coworker is leaving. Also, when you decide to speak up about something that was making you uncomfortable in a work environment. The good news is that this will probably help you in the long run career-wise. It will probably help you enjoy the work environment that you're in a lot more. This could also be a time when you really need to kind of like take your foot off the pedal in a way, when it comes to maybe trying to push your own agenda onto someone at work, because they could come back to you and say, you are being too pushy, this is obnoxious, I'm insulted, and so on. On the 18th of April, Mercury is conjunct Uranus and Taurus in your 10th house of career. This can bring some out of the blue news when it comes to bosses, when it comes to your professional life, also when it comes to maybe how you make your money. On the 20th of April, for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Taurus in your 10th house of career. It feels like your focus is very much your professional life. And there is a new beginning happening for you professionally that I'm excited about, but it may come as a result of significant disruption initially in the first part of the month, career-wise. On the 24th of April, Mercury is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in your 7th house, so it may feel like pretty much, a boss just does not want to say yes to whatever you're proposing. It may also feel like a partner isn't necessarily super supportive of what you're doing next, career-wise, so they may be very skeptical. They may have their doubts. 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in the 8th house. This is a very romantic day, and I do recommend kind of like creating a romantic setup, creating a dreamy setup, a bubble-like setup for any sort of romantic partners that you have in your life, obviously. This is the best kind of like way to utilize the energy of the day. From an intimacy perspective, it can be, oh my gosh, it can be a magical, magical, magical day. So make use of it. 30th of April, week before, week after. I do believe this is one of the most important dates of the month and of the year, actually. You've got a solar eclipse, so big new beginning, in your 10th house of career at 10 degrees of Taurus, 27 minutes. So if you've got planets around 10 degrees of fixed signs, so Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo, you're going to feel this the most. It is sextiling Mars and Pisces in the 8th house, this eclipse, and Venus will conjunct Jupiter and Pisces in the 8th house. It feels like you are embarking upon a whole new journey in your professional life. You could launch a new business together with a partner at this time. You could step into a new industry. You could decide to pivot career-wise altogether. You could decide to completely transform your path career-wise as a result of having some very powerful epiphanies of a psychological nature. Whatever you decide to do, step in this new direction, my dear Leos, with confidence, because the world is going to be your oyster again, and you can achieve a lot more personal fulfillment and satisfaction in this new career path, maybe than you can envisage right now. There could be a new opportunity coming your way, career-wise, a new role, a new position. If you feel like starting fresh career-wise, this is it. This is your time to do so. Like, I can only tell you that this is pushing you in the direction of your destiny, and you probably feel this with every single inch of your heart, of your being. So, enjoy April, Leos. My dear Virgos, Virgo suns, and Virgo risings, what does April look like for you? Well, I can tell you that you're probably going to like the last 10 days of April more than the first 20 days of April. And why is that? Well, because in the first 20 days of April, you've got a very strong activation of your 8th house. And let's face it, the 8th house isn't necessarily the friendliest of houses. It's the house of transformation. It's the house of secrets, of taxes, of inheritances, of psychology. But all of these things are very serious. And, well, they can literally change our life. So there's a bit of activity going on there, or actually quite a lot. However, I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the new moon solar eclipse that is coming up in your chart on the 30th of April, also week before, week after, in Taurus in your 9th house. You are going through a tremendous epiphany in terms of your beliefs, in terms of your worldviews, also a significant transformation, maybe of how you find meaning in life. There can be some radical transformation of your life as a result of some sort of like news that make their way to you from abroad, maybe something connected with studies, something connected with academia. It could be something connected also with citizenship, residency, and so on. You may also have some very fated encounters abroad that literally transform the way you see reality and open up new possibilities for you. A new mentor, a new teacher may come into your life, especially around the 30th of April, week before, week after. And you may also transform in a very good way, in a way that brings kind of like increased happiness and stability. You may transform your approach to a specific relationship in your life. You may actually want to legalize a relationship around the 30th of April, week before, week after. You may also embark upon a new kind of like higher education path, or a higher education path may open up in front of you, especially Virgo risings. You may also have some life-altering trips and journeys around the 30th of April, week before, week after. So this is probably the part of the month that I'm looking forward to the most for you, my dear Virgos. The seeds that you plant around the 30th of April, week before, week after, are likely to, to see the light of day, are likely to culminate in their development next year in January. So see what you're drawn to studying, where you're drawn to traveling, what you're drawn to maybe explore more of, to kind of like expand your horizons through around the 30th of April, because this can literally change your perception of reality for the long term. And it may also bring into your life people that play an important part in your destiny. So I realized that I started with the end of the month, Virgos, and I'm sure that fastidious Virgos will absolutely appreciate me going sideways about this. Sorry, sarcasm. I'm sorry. I know you're gonna get it. I'm sure you will. But I did want to give you something very exciting to look forward to. Now, going back to the more challenging parts of the month, 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. You've got a new moon in Aries in your 8th house of shared resources, other people's money, transformation, conjunct Mercury and Chiron. So there is a new beginning around this time. I dare say that has something to do maybe with the way you pay your taxes. Maybe this is a time when you do need to pay your taxes, when you kind of like realize that you have less money to spend because of how much money you need to give the tax man. This is also a time when you probably need to approach differently. So you may need to take a certain step in this direction. You may need to approach differently any sort of like debts that you might have, because they're putting a lot of pressure, a lot of mental pressure on you. So you need to take a step back and ask yourself, okay, how can I get out of this situation as fast as possible? And maybe how can I be more strategic about how I pay my debts, or how can I be more straightforward in kind of like addressing matters that have to do with shared resources? This can also be a time when you uncover, probably, and you realize I need to tackle this head on. You could uncover a source of tremendous psychological anxiety. So it's almost like you uncover one of your personal demons. It's like, oh no, you are here. What do I do with you right now? So You may uncover a wound from your past, a wound from your childhood, maybe a wound that has to do with you feeling like you weren't allowed to assert yourself, or like you weren't allowed to ask, to demand what was important for you. You may feel triggered around this time. And when I say triggered, I mean like really annoyed. You may also feel triggered to assert yourself in front of a partner. It could be an intimate partner, it could be a business partner. But if you don't draw the line in the sand and say, this is my boundary and you can't cross it, you might feel like someone is abusing their power. So that's what you're dealing with. I know it's quite heavy material around this time. On the 5th of April, we've got kind of like a mixed bag of events in the sky. On the one hand, Mars is conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 6th house. Mars is the ruler of your 8th house and the ruler of your 3rd house. You may feel like you are kind of like bumping into a significant wall at work. It's like, bam, you can't move forward with one of your projects, or a colleague or a team is saying, no, we're not going to have this. We don't want to do it your way. You can't advance. It's like a lot of frustration at work. Maybe something that has to do with rules, with laws. Maybe you feel singled out amongst a group of individuals that you work with. They kind of like gang up. This sounds bad, but it may feel in a way like they're kind of like ganging up against you. Now, if you feel like that, obviously the first kind of like instinct would be to get really frustrated and annoyed. There's something here about, even if you don't like it, about being more open to other people's values. The values of those who you're working with in particular, even if they're not doing things your way, if you want to continue to work with these people, which you probably do, even though it's not necessarily the easiest of relationships, I dare say that flexibility on your end and pretty much just accepting that they are who they are is probably going to win you more favors in the long term than just kind of like having a complete face-off with them. This can also be a time when you feel very drained of physical energy, and also when you realize that you need to quickly or straight away take care of a health-related issue that maybe you thought, okay, it's nothing serious, or okay, it's just like this thing that I've been dealing with on and off. Mars brings inflammatory energy, and Saturn is connected to chronic issues. So it might be nothing, but it might also be something that requires your attention so that you don't experience this state of inflammation in the future, my dear Virgos. 10th of April, Mercury in Aries in your 8th house is squaring Pluto in Capricorn in your 5th house. This could be a time when it feels like you're not exactly on the same page, maybe with a romantic partner, when it comes to something that has to do with either intimacy or shared resources. On the 12th of April, but it's very active from the 9th until the 17th, Virgos, you have Jupiter conjunct Neptune and Pisces in the 7th house. Now, Jupiter is the great benefic. This could be a time when you feel like one of your biggest kind of like dreams is coming to fruition, is materializing in front of you in your relationship. This could also be a time when you feel inclined to see the best in partners, business partners and romantic partners. That doesn't mean that they are necessarily the people that you're seeing. This can also be a time, especially if you are in a relationship with someone romantically, when your partner experiences a lot of tears and suffering. I know it doesn't sound great, but they could experience quite a bit of tears and suffering when it comes to maybe one of their parents. So they will probably need you to be there for them, to support them, to kind of like comfort them. You may also feel inclined to sacrifice yourself or to give selflessly to a partner at this time. And it is actually like a very uplifting energy in a way. It's like you find a tremendous source of inner altruism and selflessness that maybe you did not know that you had access to. So it can be a very kind of transcendental moment in a way where you connect with something that goes beyond the mundane, that goes beyond the 3D, and something that makes you feel like, yes, this is worth it, even though I'm giving of myself. I can literally see how this is making a difference in the life of a partner. 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we've got a full moon in Libra in your 2nd house. It's actually triggering your financial axis, 2nd house, 8th house. Think about what you were doing around the 6th of October last year, my dear Virgos. 3 days before, 3 days after, especially what you are doing with your money, with your finances, also how you approached your budget at the time, because this could be a time around the 16th of April when you either get paid for something that you started working on last year, or when you need to revisit a budget that you had made last year. Virgos, maybe because you've got more expenses now, maybe because you need to release certain expenses so that you can kind of like direct your buying power someplace else. It may feel like you're paying for something very expensive around the 16th of April, either for a child or for a romantic partner or for one of your hobbies and passions, and it's probably more expensive than you thought it would be. Careful not to gamble around this time in any shape or form, literally and symbolically, because it may cost you a lot, like literally. This can also be a time when you're having a bit of a face-off that involves power struggles with a partner when it comes to your values and their values, when it comes to how you think money should be spent, and when it comes to how they think money should be spent. This may trigger something in you that makes you feel like you need to be in control, like you need to grasp the situation. But actually, I dare say that the best thing to do at this point in time is to just drop it. Why? Because Venus, the ruler of the full moon, is in a harmonious aspect with Mercury and Uranus in Taurus in your 9th house. So think about taking the high road at this point in time. And also allow people to be who they are. You don't need to fix everyone, and it is also not your responsibility to fix everyone. 24th of April, Mercury in Taurus in the 9th house is squaring Saturn in Aquarius in the 6th house. If you need to travel for work, or if you need to work with someone from a different culture, it can be a very frustrating day. It can also be a frustrating day in terms of making progress work-wise because of bureaucracy, because of legal matters, also because you're having a bit of a maybe moral or ethical conundrum. It's like, do I really believe in what I need to do work-wise here? So that could be something that you're dealing with on this day. It is a day of, well, thinking of how your patterns of thinking are. My apologies for repeating myself. It's a day to really examine your patterns of thinking and ask yourself, maybe I'm being too rigid in the way I see this situation. And I like the 28th of April because Mercury in Taurus is trining Pluto and Capricorn in the 5th house. It feels like a great day for romance, a great day to kind of like engage in cultural activities with a romantic partner. Also, if you have children, to take your kid out to the museum, to the theater, something like that. If you're traveling around this time, it can be a very, very enjoyable experience for the physical senses. There's another date that I want to put on your radar, which is the 27th of April. Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 7th house of relationships. You may feel very enamored, very much in love with your partner at this time, and it may feel like their suffering is your suffering. The message that comes to mind at this time is you seem to strengthen your bond with a romantic partner through, well, something that caused suffering in their life. So it could be maybe strengthening the bond over kind of like sharing traumas or sharing wounds from the past, feeling very vulnerable. It's like a time of tremendous vulnerability with a partner, and in a way, it can be very uplifting. Very careful, because if you do meet someone new around this time, if you're dating or anything of that type, the person in front of you may not necessarily be who they say they are. So they could be hiding some things from you. So maybe inquire. Or take anything that they say with a little bit of a pinch of salt, especially if it's a new person. And last but not least, on the 29th of April, Pluto goes retrograde in your 5th house until the 8th of October. It feels like this is a time to integrate, maybe, within your psyche. Why you're kind of like so attached to a certain way of feeling in control in your life, especially in relationship with romantic partners and also in relationship with children. It's like, look back and examine it. It's why do you feel like you need to be on top of a certain type of situation when it comes to relationships with these two type of people in your life, Virgos? That is the $1 million question. My dear Libras, Libra suns, and Libra risings, what does April look like for you? Well, I can tell you that this month, the focus is going to be more than in general on the area of partnerships for you. Committed partnerships, committed relationships, also shared resources, maybe resources that you have together, joint assets with a partner, or if you are looking to pool resources together with a partner, then this can also be a major area of interest for you this month. So let's look at the key dates throughout April, my dear Libras. On the 1st of April, give or take 3 days before, and I'm going to say 5 days after, and I will explain why. On the 1st of April, you have a new moon in your 7th house of relationships. This new moon is obviously in the sign of Aries. It's taking place in the sign of Aries. And Mars, which is the ruler of the new moon, is applying to a conjunction with Saturn in your 5th house in Aquarius. This conjunction is going to be exact on the 5th of April. It may feel like something is kicking off around the 1st of April when it comes to partnerships, committed relationships. You may be entering into a new partnership. You may be signing a deal, signing a contract with a business partner. You may decide to employ possibly some sort of consultant in your life. But let's put it this way. It feels like you're going to have the full picture as to what this person is bringing into your life around the 5th of April. Or it may feel like around the 5th of April, you have greater clarity as to how you can make this partnership last the test of time. So this new moon is conjunct Mercury and Chiron. For you, my dear Libras, Mercury rules your 9th house and your 12th house. I do believe that this new moon can bring with it the legalization of a partnership. So again, we're going back to the topic of contractual partnerships, contractual relationships. You could be saying yes to a new business opportunity. You could also be signing a contract to collaborate with someone, such as, for instance, an attorney, or maybe an accountant, a therapist. People that we work with in a one-to-one capacity are represented, or you could say they fall under the remit of our 7th house of relationships. This can also be a time when you experience some sort of new beginning relationship-wise, but a new beginning where you become much more consciously aware, let's say, of any sort of wounding that you may carry with you from childhood, from the past, any sort of wounding that you may carry with you that could get in the way of you achieving a more conventional, normal, regular partnership. This can also be a time, if you are already in a relationship, especially in a romantic relationship, but also in a business partnership, this could be a time when you hear news coming from a partner that has to do with legal matters, and also that has to do with some sort of situation that involves either traveling, education, legal matters. Maybe that didn't necessarily, the situation doesn't seem to have necessarily turned out the way this person wanted it to turn out. It could also be, for instance, that your partner is starting to learn something new, so they are taking new classes, new courses, but that might mean for you, my dear Libra risings, that could mean for you, in particular Libra risings, that could mean that maybe they're going to have less time to spend with you. And this could also be a theme that comes up around the 5th of April, when Mars, the ruler of your 7th house, is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house. So it feels like fun times together with a partner may not necessarily be so easily accessible. Also on the 5th of April, there is a possibility that you may realize that you've committed to something relationship-wise that will probably require a great deal of effort, discipline, and again, commitment. Commitment is the key word, over time. It's also possible that, especially for those of you who have children, that around the 5th of April, together with your partner, you reach some sort of new starting point when it comes to how you approach the topic of children in general. Now, also on the 5th of April, until the 2nd of May, Venus moves through Pisces in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health. So from the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, it may feel like relationships with coworkers are going so much better than they have ever gone. It can feel like whatever you do work-wise, the universe is working in your favor. You achieve your goals, your daily tasks, whatever you set out to accomplish on a day-to-day basis, without putting that much effort. Actually, you really enjoy it. Also, communication with coworkers, interactions with clients, with colleagues throughout this entire period are looking very, very, very well. If you have been experiencing, let's say, any sort of like health-related issues or something like that, I have to say that Venus in your 6th house, especially in Pisces because it is exalted, is a very, very healing energy, my dear Libras. Now, on the 10th of April, we've got a bit of a tricky date because Mercury and Aries in your 7th house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 4th house. So you could enter into, I want to call it a power struggle. You could enter into this sort of like weird dynamic, maybe a conflict, where you feel like maybe a partner or a consultant in your life is trying to manipulate you, and there is a possibility that you could read more into their words than they actually meant. There's also a possibility that whatever someone says, a partner in particular, business or otherwise, whatever someone says, it triggers an unhealed wound from the past, especially connected with the father figure. Now, from the 9th until the 17th of April, but with a peak on the 12th of April, Jupiter will conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 6th house. The aspect is exact on the 12th of April. Jupiter conjuncts Neptune once every 13 years, so this is a very rare, you could call it occurrence in the sky. It feels like you are having an experience of tremendous like healing and soothing energies when it comes to your health, when it comes to your physical body. It may also feel like you have uncovered, possibly throughout this period, the emotional cause of health-related issues. It may also be a period of time, I will tell you this, when you are unbelievably inspired work-wise. Whatever ideas come to your mind, whatever you dream of doing work-wise, whatever inspiration you receive in terms of what you're working on a day-to-day basis, my strongest recommendation is to maybe write it down, to not kind of like simply swim through it. Why? Because it feels like you're accessing something beyond the 3D material reality in terms of inspiration for your work, and also in terms of inspiration and insights connected to your health throughout this period between the 9th until the 17th. Also, dreams can come true work-wise. So if you think you are ready to land your dream job, my biggest recommendation is to keep pushing for this in April. Please, 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 however, keep in mind that sometimes when Jupiter comes together with Neptune, things aren't necessarily 100% what they seem. So that is kind of like the only thing to keep in mind. I would triple check, read 5 times, maybe any sort of contracts that you sign throughout this period. But this year, Libras, I have to tell you, with Jupiter in your 6th house, this is a year to step into a role work-wise that you are learning a lot in, and also to go beyond what you've been doing so far in terms of day-to-day tasks and responsibilities. It is a year of expansion in terms of what you do for work. So the dream job could land in your lap throughout this period, but in general, 2022 is a year of inspiration and of creativity and of new opportunities work-wise for you, my dear Libras. Now, if we go further in time, let's see. Mars also moves into Pisces in your 6th house of day-to-day work. until the 24th of May, so from the 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars is kind of like making you super active and pumped and excited to do the work, excited to get things off the ground, excited to maybe kick off new initiatives work-wise. Mars is also saying, okay, I'm going to give you the energy to change something. If you want to change your routines, if you want to change your habits, if you want to introduce a new habit or a new routine, by the way, especially with Jupiter in your 6th house throughout most of this year, with Mars kind of like amplifying that energy, this is a perfect period of time to do so, to maybe try out something new, to work out in a different way, to maybe dance more, swim more, and move your body in ways that are enjoyable and pleasant. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Libra, triggering your first house, 7th house axis at 26 degrees of Libra. So whoever has planets around 26 degrees of cardinal signs will feel this the most. It is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 4th house of home. Saying that, Venus, which is the ruler of the full moon, is in a sextile to Mercury and Uranus in your 8th house of shared resources, of other people's money, of psychological transformation, and so on. Okay, so this is interesting. The moon for you, my dear Libras, is the ruler of your 10th house of career. It may be a time when you kind of like stand up to someone who maybe has been, I feel like saying bullying you in a work environment. You may also decide to cut out of your life an old client, an old business partner, or an old consultant. I would also recommend looking back at what was going on relationship-wise for you, and also on a personal level in terms of growth last year around the 6th of October, because this full moon could be bringing those themes to a peak, to a culminating point. It feels like you're also getting out of some sort of crisis at work, but it does require you to kind of like maybe speak from a place of courage, of boldness. This could also be a time when you have much greater clarity as to what someone in your life, especially a partner, might have been hiding from you. It could also be a time, however, when you realize what exactly from your past, from your relationship maybe with parents, especially with the father figure, what exactly from your past is keeping you from experiencing the happiest relationships that you can experience in this lifetime. So it's an aha moment, my dear Libras. Now on the 20th of April, the sun moves into Taurus in your 8th house. It's going to stay there for the next 4 weeks. The sun rules your 11th house. You could be making plans for the future when it comes to shared resources. You could be making plans for the future when it comes to investments, when it comes to loans, mortgages, taxes, and so on. On the 24th of April, Mercury in your 8th house is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in the 5th house. This seems to be a time when you maybe need to cut out of your life or spend less money on something that used to bring you a lot of joy, that used to be very fun for you. Why? Because you've got other goals together with a partner. This could also be a time, by the way, when you tell a partner in your life, listen, you can't keep kind of like throwing that money out the window or paying for, I don't know, like golf classes when we've got this goal to buy a house or to I don't know, send our kids to private school. God knows. So that could be happening around the 24th of April. On the 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 6th house. Okay, so this is interesting. Why? Because this can feel like a time when you either are willing to make a compromise for the sake of the greater good, work-wise. So you might decide, okay, I'm not going to fight this fight anymore because it's not worth it. I'm thinking of the greater picture here, so I might as well just kind of like get on with my life. It could also be a time when someone who you were working with or who you are working with at the time is saying, okay, let's do it your way. So it feels like Collaboration is very smooth and flowing. This can also be a time when, if you work in an artistic environment in any shape or form, when you work in partnership with someone else, fantastic out of this world ideas come out of the interaction between the two of you or several of you. And on the 29th of April, Mercury moves into Gemini in your 9th house, and Pluto goes retrograde until the 8th of October in your 4th house of home. So until October, it feels like you are revisiting issues from your past, from your home life, from your connection with your ancestors, or maybe with your parents. And on the 30th of April, the month ends with a beautiful bang. We have a new moon solar eclipse in Taurus in your 8th house. It is sextiling Mars and Pisces in your 6th house of day-to-day work, and Venus is conjunct Jupiter in Pisces in your 6th house. Okay, this is fantastic news. So a solar eclipse is like a new moon on steroids. This is fantastic news, my dear Libras. When it comes to maybe receiving the green light for a mortgage, a loan, a sponsorship, a scholarship. This can also be a time of fantastic news when it comes to your partner's finances, or when it comes to maybe a business partner's financial kind of undertakings. Why? Because it feels like this person will share their resources with you. This can also be a time if you've been waiting for a breakthrough in terms of inheritance, in terms of maybe receiving what's yours from your family. You are probably going to have a breakthrough at this point in time. It's also a breakthrough on a psychological level. It feels like you have uncovered a new way to deal with challenging situations in your life, especially when it comes to your day-to-day work, and also when it comes to your physical wellness and well-being. You seem to be transformed and to have access to a new source of power of a psychological nature at this point in time, my dear Libras. By the way, also a fantastic investment opportunity could come into your life around this time. But remember, I'm no financial advisor. You are responsible for your own financial decisions. And that is April for you. My dear Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. What does April look like for you? Well, I can tell you that pretty much until the sun moves into Taurus in your 7th house of relationships on the 20th of April, it may feel like the month revolves around the topic of work and also possibly health for you, Scorpios. So the month kicks off with a new moon on the 1st of April, 3 days before, 5 days after. Why 5 days? Because on the 5th of April, Mars, which is the ruler of this new moon, is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 4th house of home. So we've got a new moon in Aries on the 1st of April in your 6th house, conjunct Mercury and Chiron. So Scorpios, what can this new moon bring? Well, it may bring news connected with your health or connected with a parent's health. It does look like you will probably, as a result of this news making its way to you, it does look like you will probably need to approach the topic of health a little bit differently, in an unconventional manner. Why? Because of Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, but it is also the maverick energy. You may decide to tackle maybe a health-related issue with courage head on, and maybe to also do something that feels very bold, very brave. If you hear news connect with a parent's health around this time, which is also very possible, I dare say that probably the best way to kind of like deal with this challenge or issue is to move fast. So speed seems to be of the essence. There's also a possibility that around this time you may start a new work-related project, but you may not necessarily feel like this is your cup of tea, I'd say. You might actually feel a little bit like a fish out of water. There's also a possibility that maybe a new coworker joins your team, and it could be someone that requires you to adjust your methods, your methodology, and the way you approach certain tasks. Some Scorpios will start possibly a new job around this time, or will take a decision connected with their job for the long run. On the 5th of April, Mars is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 4th house. It does feel like if you want to move forward with long-term plans or goals, home-wise, family-wise, living situation-wise, you're encountering a little bit of an obstacle, or maybe an obstacle that needs to be tackled over an extended period of time. It might not necessarily be an obstacle. It could just be the fact that, let's see, Scorpio, for you, Saturn rules your 3rd house and your 4th house. It could be maybe that the objectives that you have connected with residence, home life, family life, aren't 100% aligned with maybe how your partner or how other family members are seeing these objectives and goals unfold. Especially since Saturn also rules your 3rd house of communication and siblings. A sibling or a parent could encounter a very kind of like frustrating situation on this day, and your instinct might be to kind of like shake them up and say, you've got this, you can do this, full speed ahead. But to be honest, it doesn't necessarily seem to work. So you might need to be a little bit more patient with them and kind of pace yourself so that you can truly help them deal with whatever issue they are dealing with. Also on the 5th of April, until the 2nd of May, Venus moves into Pisces in your 5th house of creativity, creative self-expression, and so on. You also will experience this month, my dear Scorpios, from the 9th until the 17th of April, Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 5th house. So until the 2nd of May, but especially between the 9th until the 17th of April, it may feel like you have accessed some sort of like incredible source of inspiration for you, incredible pool of creative resources that you have inside of you. You may be literally dreaming something up, like a new creative project, especially those who work in an artistic environment, in an environment that involves design, that involves using your imagination. It may feel like you have struck gold. I will just tell you this. You may also receive inspiration in these areas from spiritual experiences or from mystical experiences. There's also a possibility that you will have found a way to maybe monetize more than you have done up until this point, to monetize one of your creative talents. You may also be madly, I'm just going to say that again, madly in love, or feel kind of like intoxicated with love, especially between the 9th until the 17th of April, but with Venus in your 5th house, pretty much until the 2nd of May. You may also feel like experiences that you have together with a romantic partner are helping you escape the mundane and maybe accessing the divine, accessing your higher self, accessing something that isn't terrestrial, let's say. There's also a possibility that it could feel like you've experienced a dream come true, especially between the 9th until the 17th of April, when it comes to your romantic life or when it comes to the area of children. Whatever it is that you are hoping for, longing for in the area of romance or children or creative self-expression, creative projects, whatever it is that you are aspiring to, my dear Scorpios, my biggest recommendation throughout this period, this is a highly charged period energetically from a mystical standpoint. My biggest recommendation is to visualize yourself, to kind of feel the feelings of what it would be like to have whatever it is that you're dreaming of, to have that in your life, because in a way, it feels like faith is paying off throughout this period. Saying that, one word of caution. One word of caution. So this is a beautiful, dreamy experience. You may have like an out-of-this-world experience that kind of like helps you escape and transcend reality and also connects you with divinity, with God. The only issue between the 9th until the 17th of April in particular is with gambling. You might feel unbelievably lucky. I can only recommend that if you do gamble, if you do kind of like buy a ticket to the lottery, I can only recommend that you do not spend money that you don't have. That's my sole recommendation. Let's see what else is going on for you in April, Scorpios. So, from the 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars is also moving into Pisces in your 5th house of creative self-expression. Mars is your chart ruler and also the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work. It feels like you're putting a lot of energy into working on something that requires you to utilize your imagination and requires you to access resources that are unique to you from the middle of April until the last week of May. On the 16th of April, Scorpios, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Libra in your 12th house. So it's triggering your 12th house, 6th house axis, the axis of health and service. And it is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 3rd house. It feels like this is a time when you're either leaving behind a job, or when you are leaving behind, when you are surrendering maybe a habit that you know intellectually, you know it's logically, you know it's not good for you. However, you may be a little bit, you may be panicking a little bit as to how you are going to be able to deal with your day-to-day without having this emotional crutch in your life. This can also be a day when a period around the 16th of April, when a colleague leaves, when a coworker leaves. It could also be a day when you hear some sort of news once again. So some clarification when it comes to either your health or the health in particular of a sibling, if you have siblings. If you don't have siblings, then it could be the health of a cousin, of a member of your community. If you have siblings, then a sibling could be going through a very challenging time work-wise or health-wise, especially mental health-wise. So it might be worth being there for them. On the 20th of April, as I said, for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Taurus in your 7th house of relationships. It will be illuminating this part of your chart very, very strongly, especially at the time of the new moon solar eclipse that is coming on the 30th of April. I would also look at the week before, the week after. So 30th of April, you have a solar eclipse in your 7th house, sextiling Mars and Pisces in your 5th house of creative self-expression, of children, of romantic love. Okay, so if you're single, then I can probably tell you, especially with the transiting North Node, with eclipses happening in your 7th house this year and next year, if you're single, then you are very, very likely to meet a partner around this time. If you are already in a partnership, then you may very well take your relationship to the next level. I can tell you, folks, that some Scorpios, especially Scorpio risings around this time, may hear news of pregnancy. So it could be you that's getting pregnant. It could be your partner that's getting pregnant. Obviously, if that's the case in your couple. I'm liking this eclipse. It feels like the relationship as you know it is dead, but in a good way. It's like nothing is going to be the same, and you could not be more excited. It's like a dream come. It's like a dream come true. This could also be a time when someone who plays an important role in your development long term comes into your life. Someone who is likely to help you access your inner resources and talents, and also to help you access the part of yourself that is incredibly creative in nature. Let me give you a few additional key dates in April to pay attention to. So 27th of April, an incredibly powerful day in terms of inspiration. If you're writing, if you're painting, if you're creating anything, use the 27th of April, because whatever you work on, it's like out of this world. It's beautiful, it's pleasing, it's dreamy, it's enticing to others, and so on. It's also a very romantic day, the 27th of April. The 24th of April is not necessarily my let's call it favorite of days this month, because Mercury and Taurus in your 7th house is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in your 4th house of home. So it does feel like you're encountering a little bit of a let's call it blockage in the area of relationships when it comes to something that has to do with your living situation, or it could be your partner's parent that is encountering some difficulties, and that is also putting a strain on your partner. It may feel like you can't reach them in terms of communication. It may feel like they don't want to listen to you on this day. So a frustrating day to communicate with others, 24th of April. My recommendation would be, if you can, to kind of like give the other person, or whoever it is that you're talking to on the day, to give the other person the benefit of a doubt, because they could be going through some really hard times in private. And that, my dear Scorpios, is April for you. Now, if you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, my lovely Sagittarius. Okay, so I did say that the first half of April isn't necessarily the easiest for anyone, but I'm gonna call you the exception. I do believe that the lunations in Aries and Libra will actually gel a lot easier with your Sagittarian nature. Why? Because Aries is a sign that trines Sagittarius, and Libra is a sign that sextiles Sagittarius. Saying that, from the 20th of April onwards, your focus is going to be pretty much until the end of the month on a lot of work. And I kid you not, like, there is a lot of work on your plate. You are entering from the 20th of April, especially for the next 4 weeks onwards, you're entering prime time for busyness. You are going to be probably at your busiest this year. So let me not get ahead of myself and analyze the key dates one by one. So 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, Sagittarians, you've got a new moon in your 5th house, conjunct Mercury and Chiron. I do believe that this new moon's energy can be felt until the 5th of April, actually, because Mars, which is the ruler of this new moon, will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 3rd house on the 5th. But what can this new moon bring? Well, if you have children, then one of your children can kick off a new important chapter in their life. There is a possibility that one of your kids, if you have children, might be feeling like the outsider, and you could be having some important conversations with them and kind of like explaining to them how they can utilize whatever makes them different, how they can utilize it in their favor, and how to see that as an advantage and as something that can help them get ahead in life, rather than as something that will hold them back. This can also be a time when you kick off a new creative project. That's certainly very possible. Something that involves writing, speaking, communication, probably also something that involves working with someone else, because Mercury is the ruler of your 7th house of partnerships. This can also be a time when you decide to try your hand. I don't know if that's the right expression. When you decide to test for yourself some sort of new passion or hobby. It can be a fun time, but on the other hand, you might also be feeling like whatever you're doing for fun around this time is a little bit weird and strange and out of the box, and kind of like puts you a little bit on the fringes of society, because that's how Chiron operates, which is obviously not a bad thing at all. If you ask me, honor your inner weirdo. That's what I always say. But hey, that's the Aquarius in me, right? On the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, Venus moves through Pisces in your 4th house of home. So relationships with family members are likely to be very kind of like smooth and easy, and it may feel like there's a lot of love between you and family members. This is also a fantastic time to redecorate the house. Why? Because Venus is also concerned with taste, style, the aesthetic, and so on. So you're probably going to buy some beautiful objects, if you ask me. In general, this month is really, really good for creative activities around the house, or activities that involve your imagination and maybe tapping into the world of fantasy around the house. So you could be playing with like colors and like new styles of furniture and being super creative in this area for most of the month. Also in particular between the 9th until the 17th of April, when Jupiter is conjunct Neptune in your 4th house of home. let's see. Venus also rules your sixth house. So if you are kind of like putting effort into some sort of like home or family related matter or residence related matter, real estate related matter, from the 5th of April onwards until the 2nd of May, it is likely to go in your favor, my dear Sagittarians. And also you are likely to encounter people who are very willing to help you achieve whatever it is that you have set out to achieve in this area of your life. Mars will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 3rd house on the 5th. This is a bit of a tricky day. It feels like you're maybe encountering an obstacle or a challenge or a test when it comes to communicating with someone else. It could be when it comes to communicating with siblings, when it comes to communicating with colleagues at work. You might also have to reevaluate after you have kind of like a conversation with your colleagues or with a sibling. You might have to reevaluate your budget because Saturn also rules your 2nd house. It could be a day when you are experiencing some sort of frustration on the road. So if you want to get somewhere fast, there could be roadblocks. So maybe take extra time to get there. That's kind of like what I see on this particular day in April. On the 10th of April, another tricky day, but I promise you there's plenty of good days in April as well. 10th of April, Mercury in Aries in your 5th house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 2nd house. Okay, so this is a day when you are probably realizing how much one of your hobbies costs you. You might be looking at the, I don't know, like the maths. You might be looking at your bank account and say, oh my days, I did not notice that tennis lessons cost me, I don't know, like hundreds of pounds a month. I'm giving a random example, obviously. It could be a day also when you pay more than you intended for your playing activities. So for anything that involves play, such as entertainment, going out, having fun, and so on. I would strongly advise not gambling around this day because it might again kind of like burn a hole in your pocket. 12th of April, Jupiter and Neptune are conjunct in Pisces in your 4th house. This aspect is exact on the 12th, but it is active between the 9th until the 17th. It feels like between the 9th until the 17th, one of your dreams is kind of like coming true or coming to fruition in terms of your home life, in terms of your family life. It feels like your home and family life is expanding. It also feels like maybe you are connecting with your ancestors, with your roots, with your past, in a way that you haven't connected before, and it is very healing. It's an energy that helps you kind of discover more of who you are and uncover hidden potential. This can also be a time when a parent is experiencing maybe like a very important spiritual or transcendental stage of their lives. You could also be feeling incredibly generous towards family members throughout this period, and they could be very generous towards you. And it is generally kind of like a period of dreaming big together with family members. The only thing about dreaming big is that sometimes, obviously, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, Neptune is the planet of ideals. Sometimes those dreams may not necessarily be immediately applicable or applicable in that format in the 3D material reality. You may also feel inclined to sacrifice yourself throughout this period, willingly, so with joy, for the greater good of the family, I dare say. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after Sagittarius, you're experiencing a full moon in Libra in your 11th house of long-term goals, plans, and dreams. Obviously, a full moon is an opposition between the moon and the sun. And this is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 2nd house of income. So this can be a time when you have to pay a significant amount of money, when you have to pay for something that was very important to a child in your life. It could also be a time when you realize that the values that you are developing, or the value system that you have developed, is no longer aligned with the values of a group of people that you were a part of. So you could be going out, you could be very social around this time, but you might feel like you're not kind of like clicking with these people any longer, my dear Sagittarius, around this time. And it's okay to release people when you feel like you have outgrown them. That doesn't mean that you don't care about them anymore, but on the other hand, onwards and upwards, as they say. Like I said, from the 20th of April, the sun moves into Taurus in your 6th house. So the first kind of like 2/3 of April until the 20th, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of social activities, there's a lot of creative activities in your life. But from the 20th of April, it's all about the work, and some more work for you, Sagittarius. Let's see, the sun rules your 9th house. We have on the 24th of April a square between Mercury and Taurus in your 6th house and Saturn and Aquarius in your 3rd house. Okay, so this is a day of like frustrating communications with co-workers and colleagues, especially with someone who maybe is a little bit more experienced or older, and they say, no, this is the way to do it. And you say, no, this doesn't make any sense. You might also try to kind of like manage the expectations of a client on this day, and they're just not having it. They won't budge. They won't click. This could also be a day when it feels like conversations with coworkers are kind of like leading nowhere, and they're maybe too slow to pick things up or something like that. 27th of April, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 4th house of home. I love this. This is a day of incredible inspiration when it comes to the space that you live in. It's also a day to really kind of like enjoy yourself at home and in the company of your family, if possible. That would be my recommendation in order to make the most of this. It could also be an incredibly romantic day that you spend together with a partner, but in the privacy of your home, so not outside in the world. 30th of April, my dear Sagittarius, a week before, a week after. This is probably one of the most exciting days of the year, or periods of the year. Why? Because we have a solar eclipse, so a massive new beginning in Taurus in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health at 10 degrees 27 minutes. So if you have planets around 10 degrees 27 minutes of fixed signs in particular, so Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, you're going to feel this eclipse the most. It is sextiling Mars and Pisces in your 4th house. I like it. It feels like you're starting something fresh, something new. You could be starting a new job. You could start working from home. You could start working in a different way, in a way that allows for a better work-life balance. You could also be kicking off some sort of new chapter when it comes to your approach to your health. And you might decide to introduce something exciting and kind of like surprising in your daily regimen, and maybe do things differently. So kind of like break free from the patterns of old in terms of habits, in terms of rituals. There's also a possibility that you may feel like you have overcome at this point in time, or feel like you have found the key to overcome in the long run any sort of maybe health-related issues that you could have inherited from your parents, but you realize, okay, if I do this differently, then I don't have to carry on whatever medical history they experienced. This is also a day of like incredibly surprising, but in a positive way, developments in your work environment. Maybe out of nowhere, out of the blue, someone comes into your life like a manager or a leader, and they say, I think you would be perfect for this job. How about you do it? It's looking great, I have to say, and in general, eclipses push us in the direction of our destiny, so even if you feel unprepared maybe right now for the job that is in front of you, I will say that you're feeling excited, and it's something that can make a tremendous positive impact, once again, long-term for you. And that is Sagittarius. My dear Capricorns, Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising. What does April have in store for you? Well, the first part of the month, especially the first half of the month, seems to revolve around family matters, home-related matters, residence-related matters, and private life. From the 20th of April onwards, once the sun moves into your 5th house of enjoyment, children, romance, creativity, I dare say that for roughly 4 weeks, you are entering probably one of the most fun and entertaining periods of the year for you. So there is plenty to be looking forward to. But let me actually not get ahead of myself once again and take you through the most important dates of the month. On the 1st of April, 3 days before, and I dare say 5 days after, until the 5th of April, you are experiencing the influence of the new moon in Aries in your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. Why, for the next 5 days, is this still active? Because on the 5th of April, Mars, which is the ruler of this new moon, will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 2nd house of income, self-worth, and self-esteem. So this new moon on the 1st of April seems to point towards a new beginning, Capricorns, in your home and family life. So some of you might be moving into a new home. Some of you might be hearing news connected with a family member, connected with a parent in particular. You could hear news that has something to do with the health of a parent, that's possible, or with the work, with the job situation of a parent or of a family member. You might start around this time, around the 1st of April, you might start working in your home and private life towards maybe renovating the place that you live in, maybe towards finding a new place to live in, and so on. This could also be a time when you decide to tackle head-on health-related issues or wounds of an emotional nature that come from your past. So that come from your relationship with your family, with your parents, and so on. On the 5th of April, Mars will conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 2nd house. It does feel like you need to make some adjustments budget-wise around this date. If you've been spending money maybe more easily than you normally do, Capricorns, around the 5th of April, you might realize, okay, I need to stop, take a deep breath and ask myself, what are my goals long-term? What am I trying to achieve financially long-term? And you may need to curb some of your spending. Now, of course, everyone's got their own expenses, priorities, and so on. I'm not saying that you've been throwing money out the window, but still there might be a need to readjust how you utilize your financial resources, and that need could come to your attention around the around the 5th of April. This could also be a time when you encounter some sort of difficulties maybe in getting paid. So it could be something of a bureaucratic nature. It could have something to do maybe with, having to go through the motions, having to file in some sort of like paperwork and so on. And you probably need some money fast now, but you still can't skip the entire kind of like bureaucratic process in order to get paid. Also on the 5th of April, this is actually something that I really like. On the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, Venus moves into Pisces. Venus transits Pisces in your 3rd house of communication, learning, siblings, and so on. Until the 2nd of May, my dear Capricorns, communication with others is likely to be a very enjoyable pastime. You may also be feeling much more inspired to speak up, to write, to express your thoughts, to express your opinions. Your opinions are likely to land very well with others. You may also feel inspired to study something or to put more of your energy into something that has to do with, integrating your spiritual life within your day today. Venus is also the ruler of your 10th house of career. From the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, relationships with bosses, with coworkers, with leaders seem to be going very, very well and seem to be flowing very nicely and very smoothly. So if you need to ask your boss for something, I would certainly do so between the 5th of April until the 2nd of May. On the 10th of April, Mercury is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your first house. Mercury is placed in your 4th house of home, family, roots, and the past, and it rules your 6th house and your 9th house. Okay, so it looks like something that a parent says probably, or something that a family member says, feels very blunt to you and also feels very triggering and might get you into this feeling of, I don't know, maybe wanting to push back and wanting to fight back so that you don't allow them to manipulate you. I mean, I do believe that someone in the family could say things meant to trigger you to do something, so careful for that sort of like maybe manipulative energy. Also very careful not to kind of like explode as a result of something that a family member or a parent says, because it may be that you're taking it more personally than it was meant to be taken. On the 12th of April, Jupiter is exactly conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 3rd house, but this aspect is actually active between the 9th until the 17th. This is a dreamy aspect, literally a dreamy aspect. It's only something that happens once every 13 years when Jupiter gets together with Neptune. Jupiter for you Capricorns rules your 12th house and your 3rd house, and coming together with Neptune, you may be having a lot of inspiration to write something between the 9th until the 17th. You may be feeling very inspired to maybe study something of a spiritual nature. You may also have some very kind of like illuminating out of this world conversations with people throughout this period that help you clarify maybe an instance when you felt victimized or oppressed or stigmatized by society or alone. It's a very healing energy in general. Your words can heal others, and other people's words can heal you. Careful, however, if you are looking to buy a car, if you're looking to sign a contract throughout this period, do read the fine print, because if something seems too good to be true, then there's probably some sort of like caveats in the fine print that say subject to terms and conditions. You may also feel like you're having some sort of breakthrough on an emotional level, on an intuitive level, when it comes to really grasping, really understanding something that has to do with your spiritual life or with your mental health, or with instances where you felt unseen, my dear Capricorns. Now, from the 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars, planet of action, moves through your 3rd house of learning and communication and networking. So it seems to be a very busy period in which you're connecting with others. You're putting a lot of effort, a lot of energy into educational matters, into matters that have to do with maybe meeting new people, getting together with others, and so on. You could also be putting a lot of energy into maybe sorting out paperwork, running errands throughout this period that have to do with your residence, that have to do with your home and family life also. So one of the aforementioned. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Libra, triggering your 10th house of career and your 4th house of home, and squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 1st house. Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is nicely aspected to Mercury and Uranus and Taurus in the 5th house. This can be a time when you wrap up a role career-wise. This could be a time when you decide, listen, I no longer want to be working for this person, or I no longer want to be abiding by the rules of this company or of this particular leader or of this particular boss. It could also be a time when you are feeling heavily scrutinized in the public sphere. for something that you might have liked to keep private and hidden, but alas, you have to share it with the world. So I'm going to give you an example. I actually have like a Capricorn rising friend who is going through a divorce, and most likely there will probably be a milestone moment that they're hitting. I mean, I know his chart very closely. There will probably be a milestone moment around the 16th of April, a few days before, a few days after, that they are hitting in this process of getting divorced. He doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't like to share details about it, but alas, he may still feel exposed, and you might feel very exposed in the spotlight around this time. You may feel judged by others as well, but remember, sometimes you're the one who's putting the highest amount of pressure on you, Capricorns. I do believe that if you talk to people, you're going to realize that they are much more supportive than you thought they would, and much more inclined to maybe give you kind of like the energy, feed you the emotional energy that you need to go through this period of time in your life that is highly sensitive and difficult. This could also be a time when a boss is leaving, certainly very possible. So I wanted to put that on your radar. Like I said, from the 20th of April for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Taurus in your 5th house. So this is prime time to have fun for the next 4 weeks. Capricorns, you've gone through, you've been challenged, and you've experienced maybe some difficulty, some issues with family members in the first part of the month. It's time to enjoy yourself, and it's time to relax. On the 24th of April, this is the only day that I want to kind of like raise a flag for. Mercury and Taurus in your 5th house is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in your 2nd house. This is a time when you probably realize that maybe what you want to, let's say, do for fun is very expensive. And you could be thinking, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? You could be having some qualms there. If you have children, you could be saying no to a child when it comes to expenses. You could be denying them something and saying, nah, this is not important, or I've got other expenses. I've got something else to kind of like, that I need to do with this money. 27th of April, Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 3rd house. Probably one of the most romantic days of the month, and maybe even of the year. You may have some sort of tremendous chemistry, like flashes, sparks flying with a potential romantic partner or an existing romantic partner. On the, 30th of April, week before, week after, one of the most important dates of the year, actually, we've got a solar eclipse in Taurus in your 5th house. At 10 degrees, 27 minutes of Taurus. So if you have planets in your natal chart around 10 degrees of fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, you're going to feel this the most. By the way, if you don't have planets close to this, you might not feel it. This solar eclipse is sextiling Mars and Pisces in your 3rd house. So this solar eclipse, Capricorns, can bring into your life a new romantic partner, a new romance, a new source of joy, a new source of fun, and this is likely to change your life for the long run. It may help you realize, okay, I can have fun in this new way, or I can approach romance from this different angle, from this different perspective. This solar eclipse is actually happening close to Uranus. It can bring a sudden, like a surprise development when it comes to creative projects in your life. Eclipses also bring fated characters, fated people in our life. So it could be that someone comes into your life and says, I think you're really talented at this. Don't you want to write something for me? Or don't you want to collaborate with me on something of a creative nature? You're having an epiphany in terms of what brings joy in your life. And it's important to give yourself permission to step out of your comfort zone, Capricorns. By the way, some Capricorns, especially Capricorn risings, might also hear some fantastic news connected with children, or there could be news of pregnancy or something of that type. Now, if you are an Aquarius sun or an Aquarius rising, my Aquarius brothers and sisters, April April brings a lot of news. It brings a lot of short distance traveling, probably for you, especially for Aquarius risings. A lot of maybe paperwork, a lot of emails, phone calls. I know, super exciting. Possibly also exams, so a lot going on the educational front. And from roughly, I would say, the 18th, 20th of April onwards until the end of the month, your focus is going to be very much on the area of home and family life and living situation. So there's a lot of busyness in the first half of the month, and then you're going inwards and you're also focusing more on your private life rather than kind of like interacting and engaging with a lot of people. Let's see, 1st of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, or let's give it until the 5th of April, actually. You've got a new moon in Aries in your 3rd house. Why until the 5th of April is the energy active? Because on the 5th of April, the ruler of the new moon, Mars, will conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in your 1st house of identity. So it feels like around the 1st of April, you are either starting to learn something new, or this is a time when you realize, I need to develop myself. I need to develop myself in a new direction in terms of how I communicate with others, in terms of how I present my ideas to others, in terms of how I interact with others on a day-to-day basis. This new moon might also bring news, or might bring to your doorstep the theme of exams, papers, writing things. You realize that you probably need to do things a little bit differently, and maybe kind of like regular channels of communication, of writing, aren't necessarily the best ones at this point in time, my dear Aquarius. This could also be a time when you start writing something or working on something that involves use of the logical mind that you really, really like, and that maybe also has a, let's call it, educational and healing component to it. On the 5th of April, as I said, Mars is conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 1st house, especially if you are an Aquarius rising. This can bring heavy energies health-wise. It can bring an inflammation of a chronic health-related issue. It could also bring, by the way, a solution to a chronic health-related issue. You may also feel inspired to kind of like work on yourself, to develop maybe a healthier relationship with your physical body in the long run around this time. I want to tell you who are the ones who should pay the most attention to this transit. So if you can give me 1 second. Certainly it could also be a day when you work hard to kind of like build muscle and kind of like strengthen your bones. You may also feel like others are having expectations of you to move faster, but you're reluctant to move faster than you normally would at this point in time. So those of you who will feel this aspect the most are those who have planets around 22 degrees of fixed signs. So fixed signs are Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus. You may also feel attacked in a way around this time, or feel like you need to defend yourself, or feel like you need to defend some of your structures at this point in time, the structures in your life that you have built at this point in time, my dear Aquarius. Also from the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, Venus transits Pisces in your 2nd house of income. Okay, you're gonna get paid, and you're gonna get paid a lot throughout this period. It feels like you are attracting like a magnet, because Venus is very magnetizing. You're attracting like a magnet opportunities to make more money, to increase your income. You're getting a lot of appreciation for your talents, for your inner resources, for what you put into the service of others. You may also throughout this period feel like you have learned a lot in terms of mindset, growth mindset, especially financially, my dear Aquarians. 10th of April, Mercury in Aries in your 3rd house, squares Pluto and Capricorn in the 12th house. Okay, so if you can, stay away from maybe getting into verbal fights or conflicts on the road. So don't get your, how do they say? Don't get your knickers in a twist on the road, because you might not know who you're talking to, and it could escalate really quickly. Also, very careful that people could rush on this day on the road, and there is a proneness to kind of like things happening out of the blue on the road. Also, I would check kind of like the pressure in your tires. This is a little bit of an explosive energy, so you don't want, certainly astrology does not predict exact material manifestation, but you don't want anything happening to your tires at this point in time. From the 9th until the 17th of April, Jupiter is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 2nd house. Oh my gosh, it feels like, and this is exact on the 12th of April, it feels like you are kind of like attracting and inviting a lot of abundance in your life, and maybe opportunities to collaborate with a new group of people, to maybe make money with a new group of people or with a wider community that has something to do with, let's say, the divine or the spiritual aspects of reality, or maybe you receive the opportunity to make more money with an artistic community in your life. You may also feel very generous with your money throughout this period, and be kind of like inclined to put your resources into the service of a cause that you support. It feels good to give throughout this period, if I may say so. Very careful who you give to, because sometimes Jupiter and Neptune can also bring scammers into your life. And also very careful who you kind of like share your gifts with, because they could be hiding some of their true intentions from you. Now, if we move further in time, on the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Libra in your 9th house, 3rd house axis, squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 12th house. Okay, I gotta say, this is not my favorite aspect of the month for you, my dear Aquarians. You could hear news connected with exams, and they might not necessarily be the news that you expected. Also, news connected with something of a legal nature. Again, there seems to be kind of like a hidden power that's keeping you maybe from obtaining what you wanted to obtain at this point in time. Saying that, Venus, which is the ruler of this full moon, is sextiling Mercury and Uranus and Taurus in your 4th house. If you are getting any sort of like difficult or challenging news connected with education, exams, traveling, maybe legal matters, I would see this as a blessing in disguise that is actually making room for you to spend more time and dedicate more time to your home and family life, which is going to be of the essence in the next kind of like from roughly the 18th of April onwards, pretty much until the end of May. You may also hear news of something getting canceled, like a trip. Again, I know it's going to be frustrating, but trust me, there's some good stuff coming up for you home-wise. So maybe it is a time to stay at home. From the 20th of April, like I said, for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Taurus in your 4th house of home. So there's like a tremendous focus on home life, family life, and so on. 24th of April, Mercury in your 4th house is squaring Saturn in the 1st house. It feels like there's kind of like a block, an obstacle at this point in time in terms of getting on the same page with a family member, maybe especially when it comes to finances, or when it comes to giving something up in the home and family life. This could be a good time to kind of like put a lot of mental effort into something that you do in private, but don't expect to feel like you've had a breakthrough on this day, because it's probably not going to feel like that. And it's okay, because it's going to feel like that later, my dear Aquarius. 27th of April, one of my favorite days, Venus is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 2nd house. It may feel like money is literally landing in your lap on this day. You may also feel inclined to spend a lot, careful, on Venusian matters. So on kind of like beauty, fashion, art, and so on. If you want to be a patron of an artist on this day, I dare say that you're probably creating a lot of good karma. Just putting it out there. And on the 30th of April, week before, week after, one of my favorite days, and eclipses of the year. There is a solar eclipse happening in your fourth house of home, and it is going to be in conjunction with, let's see, it's going to be in conjunction with Uranus. I absolutely love this. So it feels like you're getting super good news connected with residence, connected with your home and family life. Maybe this is a time when you realize that you've got the money to buy the house of your dreams, or you find the house of your dreams, or the house of your dreams finds you, or you realize that you can actually take a big step forward towards achieving something that will change your life forever in terms of residence, in terms of home life and family life. The family could be out of the blue expanding at this point in time. There is this sense of tremendous new beginning, positive developments and surprising developments in the area of home and family life that also involves money in some shape or form. This could also be a time when you move, or you are offered the opportunity to move or to work more from home, and that is also kind of like creating the room or the space to have a better work-life balance. Also, siblings could have some really good news for you if you have siblings, connected with their private life, connected with maybe children, and so on. It does feel like a bit of a dream come true. So what it feels like the universe and fate is pushing you towards achieving something that is better than your wildest dreams, home and family, life-wise. Remember that those who have planets around 10 degrees of fixed signs, so Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, they're going to feel the eclipse the most. My dear Pisces, Pisces suns and Pisces risings, what does April have in store for you? Well, by the looks of it, this month is going to be revolving a lot around the following topics: money, finances, values, and also learning and short distance travel, probably. So, on the 1st of April, 3 days before and maybe 5 days after, until the 5th, you have a new moon in your second house of income. Why until the 5th of April is the energy active? Because on the 5th, we have Mars, the ruler of this new moon, conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 12th house. Okay, so it feels like around the 1st of April, you need to evaluate your budget. So you could be setting new goals for yourself financially. You could be in a different place altogether financially compared to where you were maybe 6 months ago or something like that. You may need to redefine what is important for you in terms of spending your hard-earned cash on, and also in terms of allocating your time to. You may decide to start spending some money on something that has to do with your healing, and also on something that has to do with you feeling more empowered, I dare say. You may also cut something out of your expenses, especially around the 5th of April. You could also become very consciously aware of maybe some of the subconscious patterns that are at play within your psyche, and how these have been negatively influencing your financial wellness and well-being. I can tell you, Pisces, that from May onwards, but you could hear news of it in April, from May onwards, you are being given the opportunity to make more money, to expand, to broaden in this area of financial prosperity. You are also being given the opportunity, my lovely Pisces, to better monetize your talents. But in order to better monetize your talents, I dare say that it's imperative that, especially around the 1st of April, but also around the 16th of April, it is imperative to better define what your talents are, to maybe put more time and energy into kind of like honing them, and to also define what your values are and what you want to put your talents in the service of. 5th of April, Mars is conjunct Saturn and Aquarius in your 12th house. Like I said, this could be a time when you kind of like decide to let go of a specific type of expense. This could also be a time when you realize that some of your old beliefs have been having, especially beliefs around money and finances and worth, have been having a negative impact upon your mental health. This could be, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. This could be a difficult day mental health-wise. You could be judging yourself very harshly in terms of self-worth, but it is important to take a step back and ask yourself, is it you judging yourself this harshly, or is it a specific cultural kind of setup that you grew up in, or that you find yourself in, that is actually judging you and that is causing you to feel, I don't know, not good enough, not prepared enough, and so on? It's probably the latter. It's probably the latter. Also on the 5th of April, so there's also good news. Venus is going to move into Pisces in your first house until the 2nd of May. Oh my days, I love this. I mean, there's going to be a lot of beautiful energy in your first house. Venus there, Jupiter there. You're going to have both benefics on your side until the 2nd of May. If you feel like, so Venus for you rules your 3rd house and your 8th house. If you feel like transforming something physically, in terms of image, in terms of the way you approach reality, in terms of attitude, in terms of style, in terms of personal branding, like I said, between the 5th of April until the 2nd of May, I dare say go for it. Venus rules your 8th house of transformation. Venus in Pisces is exalted. It's actually a great time to renew your wardrobe, to change your hairstyle, to try out different looks with Venus in the 1st house until the 2nd of May. And you've also got Jupiter, the great adventurer and philosopher of the zodiac, on your side. If you're feeling lucky enough, let me rephrase. If you're feeling lucky enough to transform your life, to transform your looks, to transform your attitude, you're in a very good window right now, from the 5th of April until the 2nd of May. So do it. Of course, that's my recommendation. You can kind of like go ahead and do whatever you feel like. You may also feel like relationships with others are flowing a lot smoother until the 2nd of May from the 5th of April. 10th of April, a bit of a difficult day, financially especially, when Mercury in your 2nd house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 11th. You may need to pay for something, maybe more than you thought it would cost. You may need to pay for something that is related to your residence, your home and family life. You could actually foot the bill. I think that's what it's called. You could foot the bill for maybe the expenses of a family member, I'd say. But on the other hand, you could be feeling super frustrated if they aren't listening to you in terms of what they should do with their future on this day. This can also be a time when you're called to take a step back and examine, how does hanging out with certain people and being part of a certain group of peers or of people, how does that impact negatively your sense of self-worth? I'm like, because there could be some friends or people in your peer group that, without necessarily intending to, that are causing you to really doubt yourself, to doubt your knowledge, doubt your skills, and so on. So it is a day of like interesting discoveries, I'd say. From the 9th until the 17th of April, but especially on the 12th of April, Jupiter is conjunct Neptune and Pisces in your 1st house. Now, this is a period of tremendous inspiration, of maybe more strongly connecting with your higher self, with your guides, feeling like you're connecting with a purpose, with a goal that goes beyond your own individual life. You are feeling like saving someone throughout this period, and you will probably be given the opportunity to save someone throughout this period, especially in your professional life, with Jupiter also ruling your 10th house of career. You can also have some very powerful epiphanies coming from the divine, God, call it what you want. You can have some very powerful epiphanies as to what you need to do next to propel yourself forward career-wise. The only thing is, you might be a little bit fuzzy on the details. I mean, Jupiter isn't big on details. Neptune is like details, boundaries, structures, who knows? You can also be feeling incredibly kind of like sensitive and able to pick up what other people are feeling, what other people are thinking throughout this period. So your psychic abilities seem to be at an all-time high. You could also discover that you've got psychic abilities throughout this period, my dear Pisces, between the 9th until the 17th of April. Super kind of like inspired time. You may have a vision career-wise. As I said, write it down, keep it in mind. Even if you don't have the details right now, you will probably figure them out as you go along. From the 15th until the 24th, my apologies, from the 15th of April until the 24th of May, Mars is going to be in your first house. It's going to be energizing you. It's going to be giving you that state of drive and motivation to follow your dreams, to follow your vision, to follow your ideals, to fight for your dreams. The only thing with Mars and Pisces is that, once again, details aren't necessarily its strong suits, and also Mars and Pisces generally fights better for others, especially for those who are suffering, for the underdog. So you could be putting that sort of like fiery energy to great use by serving an altruistic cause. If you're doing something for yourself, then remember that you might have some blind spots that you're not kind of like fully aware of. On the 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Libra triggering your financial axis, your 8th house, 2nd house axis. The 8th house is the house of other people's money. Those of you who have planets around 26 degrees of cardinal signs, so Libra, Aries, and Capricorn, Cancer, are probably going to feel this full moon the most. This full moon is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 11th house. Let me just go out there and say it. You may get rejected around this time, even if it feels like a bad thing. It's actually not. It's like the universe saying, no, this is not for you. I've got something better in mind. You might get rejected, I don't know, for like a loan, a mortgage, or a scholarship, or a bursary, or something like that. It could feel like someone says no to your request for money from the outside, but that seems to kind of like spur you into action and give you ideas, creative ideas, as to how you can approach this differently and rely less on others. You seem to be the key, the kind of like the key to the castle for propelling yourself forward at this point in time. You have the ideas. You don't need someone else's money. You don't need their resources. You don't need their input. It's all on you. So you're the one with the vision. This could also be a time when you decide to stop collaborating with a group of people on something of a financial nature, so on a work-related project. It could also be a time when you need to pay debts and taxes, and you might be thinking, oh no, how is this going to affect my plans for the future? I have more taxes to pay than I thought I did. I'm not going to be able to do what I thought I would do. Actually, let me just tell you this. If you're getting a no in some point, in some place in your life around this time, it's because you've got a greater idea. You've got a greater vision. You've got a better vision that needs to be put into play and that needs to be materialized than what you initially thought was important for you. This could also be a time, I will tell you, investments-wise, let's say shared resources-wise, when you hear some disturbing news, again, that's because you've got all the gifts and you've got the vision that you need to make your dreams happen. So if you were relying, as I said, on some sort of like external source of income or on someone else's money in some shape or form or on investments, and if they don't pan out as you thought they would, it's not a bad thing at all. It seems to be offering an opportunity, actually. From the 20th of April, for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves through Taurus in your third house. It feels like you're connecting with a lot of people who you can work with, colleagues, networking, going out for, I don't know, like conferences and so on, doing all sorts of like taking all sorts of short distance trips for work-related matters in the next 4 weeks. 24th of April, Mercury and Taurus in your third house is squaring Saturn and Aquarius in your 12th house. So if you want to get to, I don't know, like an appointment, if you want to travel to another city, if you're in your car on this day, something can kind of like literally die down in the middle of the road. It's like something's kind of like giving up. So if you're thinking about your car right now and you're like, oh, I need to change this, I need to change that. My apologies, I know nothing about cars. I would recommend doing that maybe before the 24th of April, because on the 24th of April, it could literally just deflate in the middle of the road and it's like gone, dead. You can't resurrect it. Also frustration on the road, things moving very slowly, frustration in terms of communication with colleagues or co-workers because they just don't seem to get it. It's like you're explaining and explaining and explaining and they're like, what? So maybe just drop it for now and focus on doing things on your own. Saturn wants you to do things on your own and maybe save the conversations for another time. 27th of April, one of the best kind of like most romantic days of the month and maybe even of the year. You are feeling like, I don't know, some sort of like movie star on this day. You could be feeling super admired, super appreciated. It's possible that others might project onto you their ideals in terms of romance. Certainly, this can be a day when you feel inspired to escape in a bubble with a romantic partner. It is a very dreamy day romantically. It's also a day when you can have like this sort of like tremendous inspiration. When it comes to maybe writing something, maybe a story, something of that type, something of that nature. 30th of April, week before, week after, Pisces. You've got a new moon solar eclipse taking place in your third house at 10 degrees, 27 minutes of Taurus, sextiling Mars and Pisces in your first house, and the solar eclipse is also conjunct Uranus. Okay, so those of you who have planets around 10 degrees of fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius in your natal chart. So if you have planets around 10 degrees of fixed signs, you're going to feel this eclipse very, very strongly. It's like someone's coming into your life and saying, how about you learn this? How about you study this? Someone from the outside seems to be bringing a new perspective into your life about yourself. It could be a colleague, it could be a coworker, it could be someone in the local community. You might also start learning something new around this time, something that will completely change your perception about yourself, and also something that will have a very surprising but positive impact upon your life direction, my dear Pisces. If you have siblings, you can hear some fantastic news that gets you very excited from siblings. So that's also a possibility. You might also start learning something new that allows you in the long run to switch gears career-wise, and also that allows you to make more money. I dare say. You could also be entering into a new community at this point in time, a community that makes you feel very appreciated and that also helps you increase your sense of self-worth and self-esteem in the long run. I love, 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 love this eclipse for you, Pisces. Folks, thank you once again for joining me for your April horoscopes. Don't forget, if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. You can go to the services section and there you will find the 1-hour live Zoom consultation service option, which is the best option if you want me to analyze your natal chart, look into the year ahead, talk about specific topics such as career, relationships, synastry, and so on. Please keep in mind that for the time being, I am not offering audio recorded readings only, so you're going to see that they are sold out on my website. I've got a big backlog of those. So for the time being, I'm only offering live Zoom consultations, and obviously we can record those and you can re-listen to them as many times as you need. Also for astrology students, you can go to my website, writteninthestars-astrology.com, and in the services section, you will find the one-to-one mentorship service. So in this session, we can help you refine your natal chart interpretation techniques. We can talk about specific examples, come prepared with your questions. We can talk about specific techniques in terms of forecasting. So that is an option that is suitable for astrology students. And don't forget, you can also follow me on Instagram at Rux Unbelievable, in one word, Rux Unbelievable. Enjoy April, folks, and if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Thank you. Bye.